Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Audit and Control Committee meeting for February to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here today, and we all traveled through this storm and made it. If everyone's had an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I have, Mr. Chairman, and nothing would start the morning better than for me to make a motion to approve the minutes
That
from
is
last month's meeting.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. This time I'll have the privilege of the floor. If there's anyone that is wishing to speak to the committee, please come up front and introduce yourself. Not seeing anyone, we'll move into our order of business. First on the agenda today is to renew and amend Resolution 177-24 to authorize agreement with New York State DOT for performance of federal aid project PIN number 5764, period 85.
Good morning, Drew Rogers, Deputy Director of Public Facilities Engineering.
Tim Carr, Director of Public Facilities.
Would you like me to speak to all three resolutions or just?
Sure, so
one at a time?
if you want to speak, if there's anything individual, or are they pretty much the same sort of thing?
They are pretty much the same sort of thing. What it is we had gotten approval with these resolutions last June to enter into an agreement with New York State DOT for two Bridge New York projects and a Culvert New York project. And what was discovered was there was a statement particular to these programs that was left out of the resolution at the time. And what that statement is it commits to a time frame for construction, so that the project needs to be awarded or begun within 24 months after award, and it has to be completed within 30 months after it started. So
That's the same for all three.
that's the same for all three. The same statement is in all three, and that's a commitment that's not an issue for these projects. And it was just a requirement that statement needed to be included with these projects.
Okay.
I have one question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was going to ask this Monday, or Tuesday, whenever we met. The City of Dunkirk one, over Crooked Brook on Central Avenue.
Yes.
Where does Crooked Brook go under Central Avenue? I'm familiar with Crooked Brook.
Yeah, it is, I'm trying to think of the
I mean, is it
cross
right
streets.
downtown, like?
No, it's more to the south, in the, I'm trying to think of the crossroads that are right there.
That isn't Crooked Brook that runs along. Oh, no, I'm over in Brigham now. Never mind.
Yeah, it's before the downtown area, north of the thruway, somewhere around the Willowbrook. No, north of Willowbrook. Can't pinpoint it right exactly, but it's a very old stone-laid culvert. You probably wouldn't even necessarily see it from the.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get a phone call and,
Yeah.
okay. I think I know the area that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm not familiar with all the city streets there, so I can't
I'm
exactly
just thinking,
pinpoint
driving
it.
down Central Avenue, there's no obvious water or brook going under the,
Yeah.
I thought it was a creek, but I guess it's a brook. That may be why I couldn't identify. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Any other questions
Yeah, and I asked this on Tuesday, and the question is, with the first two being 95% funded by the federal government, is there a risk that we won't get that money? As our current administration is, freezing federal funds and firing a lot of people in the Department of Transportation, is that something is it on the radar at all? Am I the only one in the room that's considered what those actions might have on us locally?
Yes, you are, Tom.
Okay, well, I hope not. I hope.
We have not heard anything at this point
Mhm.
as far as any cuts being made. So,
I mean, I'd like to see these projects finished, don't get me wrong, they're needed, and
Yeah.
we need the funding, so. I just wanted to bring that up.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any, we'll move on these, just for order of business, though, that was covering renew and amend resolutions 177-24, 178-24, and 179-24. I wanted to take these renew and amends and complete them. And before we get into our proposed resolutions, I will like to take one out of order, if you would allow me to. Also, so I need you to have to get up. So I've been asked if we could pull number 56 first. So, number 56.
Where's that in the pile?
It's way down on the bottom. So if I could have number 56.
What is it?
It's okay.
Oh, no, I'm just we have quite a stack of them here.
So we're pulling this one out of order for just convenience for,
I object.
just some other obligations later in the day, so.
I will explain for you, Senator.
So
Legislator Pep.
proposed resolution number 56 is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, public health. And there has been an amended version that we will be reviewing today.
Diana Songer, Deputy Director of Finance for Human Services.
Dr. Mike Falk, Chief Medical Officer.
Lacey Wilson, Public Health Director, and I appreciate you pulling this forward. I have to travel to Rochester today, so I'm trying to beat the lake effect snow.
I have to find it, so. I might have to abstain. I have such an attitude now.
It's resolution number 56.
I got it.
They're not numbered.
Got it.
Public Health.
That's the fourth one from the bottom here. There's 60.
Mine's
Okay, this resolution is to amend the Public Health 24 budget for year-end reconciliations due to expenditures exceeding the budgeted amounts. There are additional revenues and a surplus of appropriations which help to offset these expenditures. We are requesting an increase of fund balance in the amount of $960,920 and to change the 24 budget to increase appropriation accounts totaling $2,143,913, decrease appropriation accounts totaling $206,268, and increase revenue accounts totaling $976,725.
Could you just explain what these are, just so everyone is aware of what we're discussing, what the program is?
So a brief as I can make it, overview for you for some context for this. This is specifically in regards to what we refer to as the pre-K program or the preschool program. This is a state mandated program. There is a set amount of basically state, they call them grant funds, but it's just an award that we receive every year. There is a portion of the cost of this that is also then required for the counties to provide. These services are for children of preschool age that require or need additional services. oftentimes needing therapeutic services as well, PT, OT, speech therapy, that sort of thing. The children who are a part of this program, they are referred and screened for this, and once they are referred to the program to be integrated into the program, then placement needs to be found, and the majority of our school districts in the county are not able to provide a classroom setting for these children. So oftentimes, we have to contract with local providers and local preschool education providers. Those contractual costs are really what we're seeing here as the major expense. There's transportation that also then has to be provided to these children because they are not being transported to the school within their neighborhood or within their district. So there's an additional transportation cost. And then also a number of the students that we're seeing come into the program now are coming in with a much higher need level. And so oftentimes a one-on-one aid has to be paid for and placed for them as well. So that aid has to be paid for to ride the bus with the child, and then also typically attend the school day with the child as well. So each of those services have a cost with them, a contractual cost. We do our best to predict those each year, how many students that we'll have coming into those programs. But really what we had kind of braced ourselves for and planned for, and I think we have a much more accurate number for the 2025 budget, which we had all come, and you all were very well receptive of that number that we needed to add to this year's budget to hopefully stave off a larger amendment next year for this. But really, we are seeing a ballooning of children coming into the program based on the delays to referrals for the program during COVID. So we're seeing this kind of statewide that, obviously as these programs were shut down because they're in schools and in a public setting during COVID, now there's this catch-up group that we're trying to get our feet under us and understand really what those projected numbers are. So I think we're on a much better track going into the 2025 year, but 2024 was a bit of a guessing game for us.
Can you just please remind me, how many, this is the overage and we're offsetting the overage, but in total, how much are we spending on these kids per kid, and how many are there?
So the average cost per child is, did you have that actually?
It ranges depending on where they go. For the 23-24, it ranges from $28,000 up to $43,000
Per child,
per child.
per year.
Per kid?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And these kids are 4 and under?
Yep,
5 and
3 to
under?
5, yeah.
3 to 5?
Mm-hmm.
And that tuition rate did increase about $2,000 from the prior year. So when you multiply that times the total children, that's
So
just
10% roughly. The rate went up 10, and your number of kids went up.
about 100.
Mm-hmm.
So on average, about $30,000 per child.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And again, we're expecting to see the needs, increase for the children as well. So we can expect some of those contracted costs to increase as well. We're seeing the need for more one-on-one aid placements, higher level speech therapy, OT, PT needs as well.
But that is roughly twice the national average for a public school kid in K through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It comes full circle with a lot of the other needs and things that we see. You'll hear later from our department about the lead programming and lead intervention that we're doing. So, children exposed to lead, we see oftentimes needing additional help and support during the preschool years as well, which is why we're really working on those intervention programs as well to help really lower these numbers and get a better handle on this in the county.
Other questions, comments? Sure, Ms.
Yeah,
Dickey.
Mr. Chair. Now, are these new children that have moved here since COVID? Because I know during COVID, people were able to move around a lot, and then I know, a lot of babies were born in COVID. So, are these new children who came to the area and have this need, or are these babies that were, where are these kids coming from?
Yeah, so really what we're seeing with kind of the ballooning from the 2024 year was the catch-up from COVID and probably new births that occurred during COVID. Not necessarily children that we're seeing from, come from other places or
Okay.
out of state. It's more so we're just seeing higher level need, pregnancies, lead exposure, substance use during pregnancy. Those sort of things are really compounding into what we're seeing right now. And then also, we would expect to see over a shorter term, as we really work with our local providers on identifying, the developmental milestones and working with early education providers as well, daycare providers and things. Referrals come into this program from a variety of different settings. So the more outreach we do, we'll expect to see those numbers increase a little bit, which is what we want, because we want to intervene as early as we can to stave off later, more amalgamated issues that we might see in terms of violent behavior, things like that down the road. So I think it's probably a number of those things together that we're seeing some of the ballooning. And then just the catch-up from COVID. Like we said, so many referrals that we would have probably seen at the 3-year age mark, maybe now we're not seeing until their 5-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
So, bit of a combination.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Scudder?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know the importance of taking care of these handicapped kids, and their needs are greater, and how nice it is to have a healthy fund balance that we can go to without a crisis or a big impact. So it's easier to make these decisions with a healthy fund balance also. Thank you.
My question is for Dr. Falk regarding the jail clinics. You commented last night you get some incarcerated individuals that require some extra care, and this is kind of a direct effect to that. Do you see this being an issue? Are we that tight where it's really that volatile? If you just sometimes never know what you may have to treat. And so this is just an effect of that, but do you think we'll see the same thing this year?
It's hard to say. I mean, in 2024, we had a few individual cases requiring high-level specialty care that we had not really seen in previous years. Coincidental, not sure, but without getting into too many details individually, just from HIPAA concerns, there were multiple specialists that were required for some of these individuals for injuries or chronic illnesses that were pre-existing before coming into the jail. Something we had no control over. The trend over the last 4 or 5 years seems to be that these individuals are coming in sicker and more injured. Some coming straight out of the hospital after traumatic injuries, and they all require either other procedures, further surgeries, physical therapy, things like that. And it's hard to predict.
Understood. It's an area of concern. Yours is the smaller of the amounts here, so it can be easily overlooked. But 47,000 is it's a fair amount of money. So and that trend could continue on. It's very hard to predict, but it's something that we should monitor and try to plan for a little bit in the future.
The good news is that we have the ability to utilize Medicaid for individuals who are incarcerated if they require hospitalization. In this particular case, a lot of these procedures and high-level interventions didn't necessarily meet inpatient criteria, so there were a lot of outpatient type of visits. But they were isolated really to a small number of people.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you again for accommodating.
You're welcome. Travel safely. So, thank you for allowing us to move that forward. Now we'll get into our agenda as follows, and we are on proposed resolution number 4. It's authorized lease agreement of restaurant facilities at Chautauqua County Airport at the Jamestown to JHW to Basil and Bones Incorporated.
Tim Card, Director of Public Facilities. First off, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out a typo, if we could make that correction, please.
Yes.
At the bottom, on the left column there, it says 1212. It should be 1234.
Should they reference the amended version
Nope, take it.
when they start?
Okay. This is a resolution to enter an agreement with Basil and Bones for rental at the Jamestown Airport for the restaurant. With that starting on April 1st of 2025 and commencing on March 31st of 2026 at the rate of $750 a month.
Been a long time coming. We've had a lot of things that we've gotten in place, and we've had a couple of shorter term leases with them, and so I'm thankful that we can get this in front of us today to have a long-term lease, and I am thankful for the process as it is, because we've tried to do it correctly by getting the equipment in place and correcting the place suitable for renters, and we're looking forward to having that restaurant there, or the facility use. Questions, comments?
Yeah, so we'll reevaluate this at the end of the year and
Yeah.
look at the possibility of increasing that or keeping it the same.
Right.
Go from there. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution is number 5. It's authorized amendment to lease agreement with the city of Dunkirk to increase office space for the office of the Chautauqua County Public Defender.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Derek Gregory, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Barone, Chief Public Defender. The Public Defender's Office currently has a lease agreement with the city of Dunkirk to lease 775 square feet, which encompasses 2 offices and is enough space for approximately 5 people. It's a 5-year lease, so we have approximately three more years on the lease. It expires on December 31st, 2027. With increased funding, grant funding, we presently have 9 people assigned to the city of Dunkirk, and we have insufficient space. And the amendment to the lease would increase the square footage by 664 square feet, giving us a total square footage of 1,439 square feet, and that would allow us to accommodate additional personnel assigned to the city of Dunkirk. And the people that work out of the city of Dunkirk also handle the courts in the north part of the county, which is provides us with efficiencies. So the amendment to the lease increases the square footage. It also increases the rental amount. The price per square foot is staying the same. Presently, the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services funds the lease. They've communicated to us that they're willing to fund the increase, so there should be no expense to local cost.
Do you have the equipment, that furniture and things that will be able to cover the space?
We budgeted a substantial amount of, in our current budget for equipment, anticipating that we were going to get additional space in various locations. And the only other major cost is we've worked with IT and public facilities and evaluating the location, and we have to put in additional drops for data drops for computers and et cetera.
Questions, comments? Mr.
Just,
Scudder?
just, you answered my question about the rent. What is the current rent for the 775 square feet, you know?
For 2025, it's $1,150 per month for a total of $13,800 a year. And then with the amended lease, it goes to $2,150 per month for a total of $25,800. And then the old schedule was that in 2026, it increased to $1,200 a month, 2027, $1,250. Under the amended lease, it'll go from $2,150 in 2025 to $2,250 in 2026 and $2,325 in 2027.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution, number 6, is to authorize lease agreement with Jamestown's Rental Properties LLC. Anyone here today? It's note, it's been tabled in public facilities and no action was taken. Does anyone want to speak to that, or we just tabled?
I thought,
Hand you this down here.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the committee take no action on this resolution. The county executive is having a meeting later on this morning on this topic.
One question, not, or really it's an information request, is we just keep seeing, a little bit of rent increase here, a little bit of space increase there. What has been the trajectory of the total amount of real estate that the county rents over the last 5 years, and where's it going? I mean, it just seems we keep hitting, and they're all small, so not a big deal one by one, but they're all going in the same direction. So that's more just a question for perhaps you, is what's the overall picture in terms of our real estate portfolio?
And certainly, Legislator Johnson, that's a very good question that we would not have the answer for at our fingertips this morning.
Understand.
But I think that's an excellent request for the Finance Department or Public Facilities to bring us the information to the committee.
Agreed. Some of these places, some of them are transfers from one place to another, so there is no increase, but we do see those. We've seen that this year. Some of them are an increase. The Public Defender's Office has drastically grown in the last several years, and thus the need for more space. We'll move on to proposed resolution number 7, which is to amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations county attorney. And there has been this one has been amended as well? No? I have a number 7. No amendment. Sam?
Good morning, Sam Zafuto, Deputy Director of Finance. This resolution is to amend the County Attorney's Office for year-end reconciliation for year-end 2024. We had a slight overage in contractual costs. This is related to outside legal fees, and it's being balanced off by savings as we do have vacancies, and it's being offset by the savings in personal services.
Questions, comments? Not hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution, number 8, is renew authorization for grant applications agreements with New York State for Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Okay, this is a renewal for the authorization for the grant application, like you said, for the Household hazardous waste program we have at the landfill, and that takes place twice a year. 2 events this year is going to be at the Chautauqua Town Building on June 14th from 9 to 2, and then on at the Falconer Shop, the Highway Building in Falconer, on September 13th from 9 to 2.
And just to more informal, this is for people to bring in things, paint, pesticides, contaminants, things that they don't typically put into the garbage, or at least shouldn't.
Correct.
Is paint, I hesitate when I said paint, because we do have a collection system of paint, but is paint accepted at these events, or no?
Oil-based.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I think it's just the oil-based, because latex you can just,
Late, right.
Yeah, dry it out.
I mean, that's not official. It's pretty official.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, like a dehumidifier, would that fall under this category of hazardous waste?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Where would someone take that if they?
I think they could take that to the transfer stations or the landfill.
Okay.
They have separate areas for those if you.
Yeah.
A separate dumpster.
Yeah.
Right.
Or scrap.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution number 9 is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, environment, landfill.
Good morning, Chad Marks, Deputy Director of Finance. We're here today to amend the 2024 budget for the year-end reconciliations for the landfill. There were some categories that there was some over-budget items. We'll go kind of line by line here with this. The employee benefits, we had a little bit of unforeseen retirement benefits and such being a little bit higher than originally budgeted. Enterprise funds are kind of funky like that, where they get extra stuff put into the post-retirement benefits and such. The same thing with the contractual, or the recycling benefits, the 7,000.8. It's the same situation with that, just a little bit over budgeting in the retirement benefits. We get to the .4s, the contractuals, over budget due to unforeseen compactor repairs at the transfer stations, and then to rebuild the motor on one of the landfill compactor units after a fire this past year. There was money recovered from insurance, but there was still the additional expense of having the repairs and stuff out to outlay the process on that one. And then the household hazardous waste events that Tim just explained, for the contractual on that, the .8189.4s, over because of this contractor is a little bit more pricey than the contractor we previously had. We entered into a new contract this year, and we're just seeing the costs were a little bit higher than what we initially budgeted for. And then beyond that, we had some revenues, excess revenues that we were able to cover the overages with.
The first line, the employee benefits, the environmental landfill, you described it as being some retirement incentives and things of that nature. How many retirees are we thinking or talking about?
Not retirement per se for employees this year, it's just more the post-retirement benefits that are paid out to retired employees. It's also the fringe benefits and such, like, the health insurance and those kind of costs.
It's a pretty substantial amount. Is it spread across all the retirees or a few specific ones, or, I'm just curious why that changed so much.
The retirement benefits, are they spread across all the retirees or for the landfill?
The post-employment benefits?
Yes.
For retiree health insurance benefit, is that what you're asking about?
Well, whatever EL 8160, 1,000.
Yeah, it is spread out across all county departments based on, it's, in a simple way of saying, based on the number of, number of employees in their department. It's not a one-to-one, this retiree goes to this department and this retiree cost goes to this department. It's a blended rate that's allocated across the county departments.
Mr. Chairman, I think what we're trying to get at is percentage-wise, how big a miss was this employee retirement thing? And I guess since it's across all things,
Well,
is
no,
this 5% or is this 20%?
That's not, in the enterprise funds, the accounting treatment is different. And so they have a different adjustment for the liability. And so there's a secondary component to this, the overall retiree, and it also, there's, the allocation is not that straightforward. I can prepare something for you to, share at another meeting that gives you a little more understanding of how the post-employment benefits are allocated across departments.
Thanks, and that would be good. I mean, what we're trying to get at is this a systemic trend, or is this a blur?
Our retiree costs go up and down. We're a self-funded insurance plan, so every year the total cost could be different. It's just based on claims experience. And, if a retiree takes the health insurance or they cash out, there's a lot of variables which would make the actual cost each year fluctuate.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and that makes, it's a pretty substantial amount. It's just under 140,000. So it's, and if it is only specific for this enterprise fund, then a lot happened in that year.
I'd have to look at more of the detail on this
Understood.
specific
Yeah, there's more
instance.
than-
And
more
then
than
again,
just that.
the accounting treatment is different. There's the regular retiree costs that's spread across all county departments, but additionally, in the enterprise funds, they have to book the long-term liability as an expense, which is not something that has to be done. And so that's based on an actuarial report and things like that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution number 10 is amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliation, South Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. This one has been amended. There's a substituted version in front of us today.
Good morning, Tom Walsh, Director of the South Center Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. Reconciling our 2024 budget. Personal services, there was an overage due to a retirement, as well as employee benefits. There was also the retirement that was showing the overage. The contractual sanitary sewer overage is caused by a non-cash depreciation due to the completion of the Phase 1 West Side Sewer Extension. The enterprise accounts show depreciation in our budgets, and this calculation was applied to our budget following the approval of the 24 budget, and so now we're reconciling that.
Questions or comments? Straightforward enough. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next, proposed resolution number 11 is amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. This also has been amended by substitution, and there is an updated version on our desk.
Good morning, Matt Olbeck, Director, North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. The personal services and employee benefits are a little over budget in the sanitary sewer account. I think some of this was more of just a mistake. There's actually money in the sewage treatment employee benefits and personal services account, And that's where some of the wages should have been coming out of, but the state comptroller made us get rid of the administration accounts, and we are struggling to go where to put them and where to take the money out of, and it's just more of a clerical error, but we do have money in the contractual, in the sanitary to cover the.
Okay. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is number 12, which is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations Portland, Pomfret, Dunkirk Sewer District. This one has also been amended by substitution, and there's a new version on our desks.
And I believe, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's the same
Same sort of thing.
situation.
So as a result of the comptroller's input, you just have had to adjust some of the accountings, and this is kind of just a follow through of that, which is understood. Will you be correcting it what's the corrective action? You're going to adjust these accounts for upcoming years?
Those accounts have been removed.
Okay.
The unused ones have been removed from.
So all unused ones have been used, so the appropriations will no longer be going into those either, so we won't have to deal with this at all. So the extra appropriations moving forward are already in where they need to be?
Correct accounts for 2025.
Okay.
Until they change something else.
Until, yes.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution, number 13, is amended 2025 budget for Portland, Pomfret, Dunkirk Sewer District. Who's this number?
Pierre Chagnon, Chairman of the Legislature, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the committee this morning our new director, administrative director of the North County Sewer and Water Districts, Allison Vento.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So she will give you a little bit of a detailed explanation, but I would like to give you the soapbox version that the Portland, Pomfret, Dunkirk Sewer District has been struggling for many years with facilities and infrastructure that was in great need of repair and attention. And we now, recently, have a administrative board that is taking this seriously and addressing the issues. So we are in the process of implementing an inflow and infiltration remediation project, which was funded with some state funding. And the board is now wishing to continue to address the shortcomings. And all compliments to the board. The county is so fortunate to have a board that takes their responsibilities seriously, a volunteer board that takes their responsibilities seriously. And so they now want to continue to make improvements where they have not the opportunity for grant funding. So they need to self-fund these. For perspective, a couple of years ago, the board increased the user rates in anticipation of needing funding for some of these projects. And at the time they did that, the fund balance was actually negative. Now they have restored their fund balance, so they want to start using some of those funds to continue to improve their facilities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Allison.
Yeah, so basically, the board has kind of put together a ticket item list of what should be addressed based on necessity. So this resolution puts forth that they would like to replace the roofs on 4 of the pump stations within the district. Because they do have a fund balance, that's where this money would be coming out of to replace the roofs. The total fund balance that they have right now is $288,728.02. The quote to do the work is from a local company in Jamestown, Jamestown Roofing, for all 4 of the pump stations to be done at once. That total cost is $99,600, which would leave the district's balance with $189,128.02.
Question I have on the bigger picture, it's great news that the district has foreseen needing to raise the rates to cover some repairs that are necessary for the infrastructure. Long-term goal, how does, you have 180,000 left, with how many estimated dollars worth of repairs, how's the long-term future look for that to get the repairs done? And is the rate increase enough to provide that service that's needed and keep that infrastructure where it should be?
Well, after a month and a half, Allison doesn't have all these answers for you, but I can share with you that the board has already identified several other opportunities to improve their facilities, things like pumps, generators, that they would like to tackle next. They don't have costs for those, they don't have bids for those, so they're taking this one step at a time, which is commendable. And to answer your other question in terms of the user rates, my expectation is that when we see the results of the fund balance after the books are closed for 2024, there will be additional fund balance available to them. So that will be valuable information for them as they continue their planning forward.
Understood, and it just shows that, the extra funds and the rate increases are enough they were warranted, as users will come to the legislature to sometimes state their cause of why we have these rate increases. It's important because the infrastructure is in need of repair, and it wasn't outrageous. It's not, you don't have millions of dollars you're sitting on from the rate increases either. It's probably minimal. But you're going to use it wisely.
Yeah, they're definitely putting it back into the users of the district so that they're benefiting of the infrastructure.
Questions, comments?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Just again, a broader question for a newbie. How does this get allocated or decided over time between the municipalities' responsibility to do something and the county's? I guess my real question is, why is the county looking at this? Why isn't Portland-Pomfret just dealing with this?
It's
and
a
how
county
does
district,
How does
correct?
that break up? When does the county get the responsibility, and when does the town get the responsibility?
Fred, this district was established as a county district.
Okay, from the beginning. Okay.
Right, so the facilities were constructed as a county district. And so the county administers it, and the county is responsible for financing it and funding it. So when the district was created, that was when the question was confronted that should the county be doing this, or should the individual municipalities should be doing this individually? And the decision was made to create the county district. The county cannot create a sewer or water district that does not include at least 2 other municipalities. So this one is the Portland-Pomfret-Dunkirk Sewer District. It includes 3 townships.
Well, so that's the underlying logic, is when it makes engineering sense to go across town and village boundaries.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Good question, though.
Well, I'm new, so.
So, just I have a quick question. So was there ever any consideration to asking for the towns to individually contribute back when that was started? When it was formed?
Steve was probably, no, that preceded Steve probably, but
Okay.
At the time this was created, there was, I believe, from what I've heard, there was a couple of town districts, and there was actually a private district, homeowners association involved. So putting that whole puzzle together was rather complicated at the time. The county attorney at the time, Greg Yaw, I think, was the one who put that together.
And I'll just mention that, the concept with the districts
is that the users fund all the operations and capital improvements, so it would not be typically the case that a town government, or in this case, the county government, would add monies to the user.
Right, it's all based on the users that are within the district. So, like, you know, the I&I project, that cost, that debt service is going on to the users just within that district.
Thank you.
Thus, the importance of a director to facilitate all that, because if it has to be watched and monitored, and we do applaud, like you said, the volunteers that are on the board to help make those decisions, so it's important. And it is important that infrastructure or that organization is on top of it, because we don't want it to eventually overflow and have a cost. It can't overflow, paying out of the general fund or anything like that. So the district has to be self-sustaining. So that foresight has been corrected, and moving forward, hopefully it continues to be able to keep up with the needed repairs.
Allison's going to make sure of that.
Yes.
Yeah, things fall apart. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Next is proposed resolution number 14, which is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, North County Industrial Sewer District Number 1.
Good morning again. All right, so as you stated, we are here to amend the 2024 budget for the year-end reconciliations for the North County Industrial Sewer District Number 1. That district had actually 84-cent overage in the personal services, just a payroll thing more than anything. But then the contractuals were slightly over budget. What that is basically due to a newly added pump that was put in service towards the end of the year, and it's the depreciation expenses for that pump not being added to the budget.
Okay.
To cover that, they did have fund balance, which we are using to make the reconciliation on that.
Okay. Questions or comments? This is a big number here, is that $1.84 flaw gonna really?
We'll do better.
That's a little harsh. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 15, which is amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, North Chautauqua County Water District.
All right, similar on this one with the employee benefits and the personal services, just slight modification there with the allocations, $27 for personal services and another $1 for the, I know.
Gonna add up.
But the contractuals are over budget, mainly due to the increase in water purchase rates from the city of Dunkirk. Went from $3.84 to $5.16. Don't ask me how that's measured, whether it's millions.
What were those numbers again?
384 and 516.
516?
$5.16, yep. And then the interest on the debt service side of things, there was some legal fees for a bond being issued for some work that they're having, that they're going to be starting soon. Within the department itself, there was revenues because of the sale of water and additional water charges due to late payments and such on industrial customers that we're able to balance the overages and the appropriation accounts with.
But was this were the negotiations taking place when we were budgeting for this and didn't know, or was this a mid-year change for the water rate?
This was prior to me budget. I could not answer that question for you.
This was a mid-year change, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This current budget has been adjusted for the increase?
The current budget was, yes, was done with the current rates at the time of the budget. There's rumblings of potential increases, but
Okay.
to date, nothing's been.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. And proposed next resolution is 16, which is amend the 2025 budget for NCCWD to assist the Village of Fredonia using interest earnings from American Rescue Plan Act funding. And what is NCC?
North Chautauqua County Water District.
Okay, thank you.
Pierre Shagnat, I'm back for moral support on this one.
Allison Vento, Admin Director for the North Chautauqua Water and Sewer Districts. The district has been working with the Village of Fredonia in potentially being a supplier to the water district. They are having issues with their supply, the reservoir, and what their options are moving forward. So the district would like to help support them and conduct a further study that they have had done to the hydraulics and what their options will be to help join the district or to stay, you know, kind of on their own. That's what the study Labella Associates is working to find out. This resolution is to use the ARPA money from the county to help fund the project.
ARPA interest earnings.
Interest, yes, my apologies.
In the amount of 70,000?
Yeah, so we were anticipating a grant of 50,000 from the Dormitory Authority. We were expecting to get that from the state, and it was denied, which is why we were asking to request the money from the interest of the ARPA money.
And we were anticipating utilizing $20,000 of ARPA money, but because the state funding didn't come through, that ARPA funding was not appropriated to this project, and it was utilized for another project.
Did the state include a reason for denial?
I'm going to pass on that question, Mr. Chairman.
I was going to ask the same question.
I don't know why it was.
The request was made of the state by Assemblyman Goodell, and so the denial went to Assemblyman Goodell.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head on that one, too.
Questions, comments?
I'm excited about this. This is hopefully going to give the Village of Fredonia another option. They have, I think, 3 already in front of them, and I think this is going to work out real nice.
And just for clarity and infrastructure reasons, and you're kind of pertaining to Fred's question with the last couple of last resolutions, the county is investing in this because it's a county district?
Yes, yes.
And this county district, eventually, it's going to help promote that district. So why can we use funds here out of a general fund and not expect the district to have the funds itself?
Well, we're following the guidelines that we utilized for the ARPA funds. The ARPA funds were intended for infrastructure. And so we allocated ARPA funds to several enterprise fund projects, most notably the North County Industrial Water District Water Tower was in drastic need of renovation and repair. So we allocated funding for that. And the other projects don't come to mind, although I had those written down somewhere. But we've utilized ARPA funding for enterprise fund infrastructure projects previously.
And I'll take the opportunity to just thank our finance department for their ability to earn interest on this money that we were received through the American Rescue Plan Act. This is a direct result of being able to, this is a extra $70,000 that if we had never put the money to work, we wouldn't have been able to expend. So I want to just thank the finance department for their hard work in that too. If I may. Sure.
So this money, I know the Village of Fredonia is mentioned on here, but it's really for the North County Water District with the potential of hopefully making it a choice that the village would buy water from the water district, which would benefit the whole district, and not only would benefit the Village of Fredonia with securing a good source of water going forward, but it would also assist, I think, the water district. It's an added customer. It's more water, hopefully brings down the rates for the entire. And if this study goes through and it is the chosen path, the savings potentially are millions and millions of dollars as far as connections, storage tank, hookups. So while the village is mentioned on here, it's really a water district event.
It could be a win-win for the village and for the water district, certainly, and water district customers.
Would we expect out of the result of this study that we would need to spend more on the connection? Or is there money in the district itself to cover those upgrades? Or would you go to bond for that eventually?
The objective of the study is to put us in position to apply for grant funding this year.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution, number 17, is requesting continuation of state legislation authorizing 1% additional sales tax. Anyone here to speak to that today?
I guess that's me again, sorry.
Come on down.
I need my exercise.
I was wondering where you were going.
So this is a requirement of the state that every 2 years we have to reapply, re-request for the additional 1% sales tax that we have been receiving for many years now. So this request needs to be filed later this year, but we are getting ahead of the curve and making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row to be able to make this request and getting it in timely, so with the hopes that it will be approved again this year.
Okay. Comments, Mr. Scudder?
Yeah, and this 1% increase is to, so that it remains at 8%. This isn't in addition to the 8%. And I have some numbers just to equate what this 1% does. The actual revenue sales tax for the county for 2024 because of this 1% is $22,965,078. And a benefit of that is the municipalities, the cities, villages, and towns, they receive $3,444,762. So it's important to the county, and it's also important to all the municipalities in Chautauqua County. Thank you. And those numbers were provided by Kitty. Thank you, Kitty.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
representing the tourism industry, Erie County, Pennsylvania sales tax is 6%. When this went to 8%, customers really started to notice. When it was 7 and something, they didn't notice, but when that flipped over to 8, at restaurants, wineries, what have you, they noticed the difference. So it's not a free lunch.
Understood. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed proposed resolution is number 18, which is CARTS, Section 5311, Consolidation Operations and Capital Grant Application Request.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Westfall, the Senior Project Coordinator at CARTS. I'm here today for the Section 5311 Consolidated Operation Capital Grant Application Request. It's our operating assistance and capital funding application that comes out roughly every 2 years. We get our operating assistance through this grant. And any capital projects, our buses, mobility manager, and any other capital projects that we want to do through this. The capital is 80% federal, 10% state, and a 10% local share. We have, in this grant, we have our 12 buses. We have our mobility manager, which covers, which we cover the 10% local share for her with in-kind, which is housing her at the CARTS office, and my time supervising her covers the local share with, you know, using our computer, our phone, etc. We have our 12 buses that we get through this grant, which is only a 10% local share when we get those buses. The capital projects would be replacing the fencing at the CARTS office where we fence in the buses so that nothing happens to them at night. Repaving our parking lot, a new HVAC, replacing our admin vehicle, the shop truck and plow, replacing our tablets that the drivers use for the day-to-day operations for their manifests, our laptops, security cameras for our new hub, our offices in Jamestown and the offices in Dunkirk. And then, as I said, our operating assistance for 2024 and 2025.
Just a question on this account. It's a 5311 operating capital grant. Is that amount something that is fixed, or do you set the amount by requests?
The operating assistance is fixed.
And is that increasing with each year with inflation, or has it been set for a period of time?
It has increased.
Okay. All right, questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution, number 19, is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, Department of Public Facilities A Fund. This resolution has been amended, and there's, by substitution, there is a new version on our desk.
And actually, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out, this one was, it needed additional changes at the first committee level, so I believe this committee actually needs to vote to amend by substitution.
Okay.
Should we do that? I'll make a motion.
Sure. So
I'd like to make a motion to amend this resolution by substitution with the copy that we have in front of us on our desk.
Second. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we are discussing the amended resolution.
All right. All right, so we are here amending the year-end reconciliation for the Department of Public Facilities, the A Fund. This includes the airports, CARTS, parks operations, and buildings and grounds. We did have a overage in the airports, the Dunkirk airports, .1, the personal services, $13,910, due to increased overtime rates or overtime pay. Part of it was employees split between the two with the Eclipse event, the additional hours worked there, plus with this winter being what it has been so far, the addition of having to keep the runways clear and the additional hours for plowing and keeping the airport operating. That said, the contractuals over budget a little bit. That's basically due to some increase in the liability insurance that was booked at the end of the year, so it did increase that slightly. Carts operations, the personal services over budget in the payroll category, payroll side of things, mostly due to an increase in hours spent with employees coming in for training, substitute pay being more because of additional routes and the trolley routes and such. The training isn't budgeted. The drivers come in on additional time to come in and do the mandated trainings because they obviously can't do the trainings when they're driving. So they come in at additional time to handle that. The contractual on that, $38,000, is due to bad debt being written off. What it was unreimbursed claims that have been invoiced, but the vendors haven't paid. It's mostly insurance stuff, Medicaid, that kind of thing. The SUNY operations, that is a timing issue. It's a pass-through. Michelle would be better to explain this, but she is gone. We pay them, they pay us kind of thing. We get money reimbursed back, and it goes to the SUNY system. Parks contractuals were over due to an increase in unanticipated expenses for repairs to mowers and other equipment. There was an increase in the gatekeepers contracts for the two parks, Erlinson and Loonsman. The contract changed in the mid-year, so they negotiated a higher rate of pay for that for those gentlemen. And then there was some unexpected breaker box repairs at Erlinson Park as well that was kind of over and above what was anticipated. Buildings and grounds contractual, the increase on that was due to the purchase of an extended warranty for a piece of equipment that they used. The warranty was offered as a kind of last-minute item to us, and was not budgeted and was not on the radar when budgeting was done. The contractual for the GOB here was for the unforeseen column repairs out back. It was costs to have those refaced and resurfaced and repaired so that they didn't pose a problem to employees or local people. And then the Ag Center was over, and what that was there was some repairs needed prior to the sale of that building, and then there was also some older invoices that had not been on the radar that came in after the project for that. There was a capital project for renovations to that. Those invoices came in after that project had been closed, so they were put into the operating budget. That said, we had several accounts that we could absorb the overages in by decreasing appropriations, and then we did also include some revenue from the sale of the Ag Center, as well as some state aid that was paid to carts for reimbursements for services.
So, thank you for the information tonight.
Long-winded.
No, it's, one question I have is, as we're making a budget, we anticipate, in the last couple of years have instituted a vacancy savings. And, I suppose this is a case where, you have run over in some personal services in different areas, but, just doing some math here, it doesn't kind of look like the personal services savings added up to the need. But we did get the extra state aid. Now, that state aid transportation, is that covering some of that, personal services overage in that percentage?
For carts, yes.
So in sense that you probably did stay within the extra vacancy savings. So I'm just trying to, correct that formula, and making sure that we're, you were over and under in some, so it's
Right.
kind of balanced out still. So, being able to utilize that vacancy savings still is working, I guess. You don't know how that's gonna pan out until we're looking at
Until we're
all
sitting
these,
here.
right?
Right.
And so it's worked. You were able to do it, and didn't have to utilize any general fund, which is nice. That's usually the first one on there, unappropriated fund balance, and we're using 0 on this one, so, good job. Questions, comments? Pretty minimal for the size of the
For the
fund.
budget itself, yes.
Yes, so good job. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is number 20, amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations Public Facilities D Fund.
All right. Similar in this one, we're in a couple of different categories, mostly contractual. The biggest one being the admin, public facilities admin. There was a couple different invoices that were, again, for projects that were done but had not been invoiced to us yet, that did come in 2024 that we were not should have anticipated, but they weren't received until 2024, and they were both from Labella for some brownfield monitoring services that they do for various sites around the county. The other driver on that is liability insurance increase, and then the addition of office supplies. A lot of duplicate forms being created or made for the driver logs and such stuff like that, so a lot of orders for forms. And then the increase in toner rates and copy paper drove the office supplies up a little bit as well. Engineering, $77. They budgeted $1,000 for a piece of equipment that ended up being a little bit over, as a metal detector that was slightly over budget from what they initially estimated it to be. And then employee benefits on that they were slightly over due to some payroll allocations and stuff with capital projects. With that, we did have revenue from the maintenance of roads account, the contractuals there to cover excess money in that account to cover the overages.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 21, is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations Public Facilities, the DM Fund. This one has also been amended by substitution in Public Facilities. There's a new version on our desk. So what do we have with this one?
What's that?
Proceed with this one.
All right, so this one, same thing, personal services are over, the vacancy savings, for some reason, it was kind of not there, so things were a little over budget on that. There was no vacancies per se, so the vacancy savings kind of affected it a little bit.
Okay.
The equipment purchase, there was just a piece of equipment, a 2,000-pound jack stand that was not originally budgeted, that was added on to the purchase to replace a piece that was needed. The road machinery contractuals, a lot of that is driven by the vehicle lease payments. There were more vehicles being leased this year as they're trying, it's kind of a moving target as far as, hopefully we're.
Yeah, and I think with this vehicle lease program now, it's finally catching up. The vehicles that have been ordered are finally all arriving and are all here. So that's why we're seeing an increase, with COVID and everything going on. There was some time where we couldn't get vehicles, and I think we are pretty much right on track now with all of our vehicles and what's to be replaced and with that program.
And then there was some additional increases in maintenance costs for vehicles and equipment and such. The employee benefits on that, driven again by health insurance and retirement benefit and cost increases. And then the debt service was just a rounding thing, another $1.
$3.
I know, $3. To cover that, though, we did have some excess revenue in several categories. We had the interest and earnings, insurance recoveries. Again, that goes back to help, the insurance recoveries go back to at least help fund the overage and the contractuals for the maintenance costs, the repairs to vehicles and stuff like that, so that money was utilized for that. The diesel revenue for the sale of diesel fuel, and then some sale of scrap metal, scrap equipment, and that kind of stuff. Kind of gave us what we needed to balance that out.
A question on a couple, so the interfund, you sold more diesel, so it affected more, you didn't anticipating selling as much, and you sold more and you did, so and this is other departments buying it from you, right? So
Correct.
Sheriff's Department or the EMS.
Other municipalities.
Other municipalities, school districts.
School districts and that stuff, too.
Yes.
Would you say it was more out-of-county or in-county departments?
This is strictly, the interfund is strictly within the county.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily that we were over because we budgeted, it was more the fluctuation in the actual rates, the cost of selling.
Cost of fuel. So it was sold at more than what you had budgeted for, so, or you purchased it for less than what you expected it to.
So, yeah, that's interesting. So if you, let's use round numbers, you buy it at $3. Let's see, how do I word that?
It's budgeted at $3 for the year, but then we factor monthly based on the fluctuation. So one month it might be $3.11 that we're charging a gallon, the next month it might be $2.90. So it kind of fluctuates monthly what we actually charge.
So we could pay less and make more, or pay more and make
Correct.
less? Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on what they paid for what's in the
Oh,
tanks
sure.
at the time.
And I know every year we struggle with that
Yeah.
amount that we budget for. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
So start working on it.
No, and it's right budgeting. I mean, we were conservative in it, and
Right.
we had an increase, and that's the way it should be, you know. The personal services too, I'm all right with the extra there. It shows that we were able to fill the positions. We didn't have a vacancy, which is a win. We were able to recruit, we were able to maintain, we were able to, have full employment, which is great, because that hasn't been the tone either. So, and I'm hopeful that we eventually have to cut the vacancy savings out, because we have full recruitment and people, so. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, at this time, we're switching to a different department. We could take a 5-minute break. It's around 10 o'clock. We'll usually take a break around 10 o'clock if the meeting's going to take all morning. So we could take a brief recess to utilize the facilities if you need to, or get up and stretch a second. We'll just reconvene in 5-10 minutes whenever everybody's back, so thank you.
You got, these are all you. Okay. I wrote it, I think. Nice. Previous year, we were taking one out of touched it a couple of times already. And that's why I made that comment. Here's $960,000. It's a drop in the bucket.
And it was really good and the purpose, and you also need to make it.
I was relying on this too, but yeah.
No, it's great, because
Yeah, because remember, big deal. Next week, okay? But these two, Something else is going to happen.
Have some inquiry. If that was what the two, they would not.
You know what, I'm going to So last night, these birds are very comfy. I love, you know, the whole. They're the ugliest things in the world. I am. But they kind of go with this thing. They make everything else look nicer because they're so. I am 5'9". So the only time I don't exactly. So, we were just he never says outside the but then he'll get these, he gets in this meeting and he says, well, the Jamestown legislators. So then I told Tom, I was like, Mr. Chairman, I want to speak for myself. Right. I mean, I had already discussed this with the chairman, and I had also reached out to her. And so I said to her,
Oh, yeah.
to them last night, this was something I already discussed.
I mean, even if that's what it is, deal with it. And I mean, I'm not as short as you are. This one.
Oh, thanks for that. It's true. It's not like this.
Because we could put you in our bucket. He's like, wait, what has happened here?
She may have.
It's summertime.
And is it?
He knows what I'm talking
Well, I didn't want you to call the house because I don't even have an answer machine down there. And, you know, as I told Tom, always just text me. Because this is my work cell phone and my home cell. It's my personal.
Yeah, no, Tyler's not until. We don't answer it. I don't go often for Tyler.
So now what do you do?
There's some, there are a number of budget module related sessions at the Tyler one. I signed up for the finance school one last year, that was also in there, but I ended up canceling it because I was going sideways with my father. But then I looked at the agenda, like last year's agenda this year, because they had, last I checked, they hadn't released the agenda yet, because I'm trying to decide which one would be more beneficial for me.
So you can still watch it. You would be able to ask questions to the director, but you would still watch it.
Oh, no, mommy wants a break.
But here's,
I've got no problem going.
if we're moving to a BC, so then we need to figure out a way to budget. We can't do electronic RPCs with future date events.
So all of our budgeting and our process would need to change. Oh, good. So maybe that might be a reason to go and. Well, I know I should. Well, all she has to do is tell me no. No, she's. If this isn't happening, if you're gonna tell me that we're not moving to emergencies, then I'm going to mandate every department needs to physically sign every RFC. So then these department heads are gonna start screaming because twice a year when he moves to winter months and then back off. He's also like 75 RPCs. You sign every one of them. I'm putting, because what's happening is I don't know who's actually approving them. Everybody's doing is checking the box and they're typing in the yep. So then when there's an issue, we receive them as a PDF. We print them, so it's my ink, my paper, my copier. We have to physically sign them, so why not? And then if there's an issue, then we're doing all the data entry, then we have to scan everything. So they have their documentation. They can verify whoever has data entered is correct on our list. It's garbage and it's all on the HR.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I actually.
We need that paper. We need to verify what was entered in the RPC. Okay. But an electronic RPC means that the department had HR liaison, whoever, they enter access to it. Yep. Yep. And so.
That would be directly right, but
he used their HR software. Okay. They already have a platform that's they don't want to give up.
That is bad. So, that's all, just do it. All it's 2024, it's all digital, it's a waste of ink, it's a waste of paper.
How can we prepare a budget? Let's put it this way, versus there's a way to correct every process to be better streamlined and to adjust to whatever needs to be done. People just get figuring out what shows. And there is the issue. No, right? Some figures I don't I was just having that conversation yesterday. I was this close to threatening violence. If I hear we're gonna go. It's never nobody even. It's never gonna happen. No, it will. That's what's I mean, and if it's not on this, we've always done it. It was in my head. You say this is the way to go, we've done it one more time. Which, I mean, yes, I understand that, but at some point, Doesn't mean it's the something's best way. necessarily wrong. And I'm sure it was the best way. I'm sure people that did it, it was like, there's a brain for reasons to do it. You would think that it
And so he was just saying, but it then had sheriff business and it was a lot of
Hold my chair.
I do. This is a very, very involved conversation.
Pretty intense right now.
Imagine savings in paper and ink alone. Forget the time and effort. Oh, well, I was just gonna say, staff time, that's what you're gonna say.
She had like $3,000
Are you releasing my chair?
I am.
Okay.
Sorry. Couldn't even hold it hostage. It starts to get loud again, we just want to get up. You know.
Vacate the area.
Just, you know, don't look directly at her. Don't look directly at her, just get up and just gently walk away. Very slowly. Like a bear, don't run. Don't look at her.
They actually talk to them so they know. There was gonna let me hang on with the city. So once I did that, if it wasn't. So pictures for you almost have to, you could do it, you almost have to house. So, really got a little committee stand. Yeah, those are just. Yeah.
Not even nothing against it. This is at least his educated days.
Yeah. Sure. Is that? Yeah. Okay, good. So.
Interstate highways. What the hell is this messing around with the state of Oklahoma? They know. It's just a little weird.
How are you? Okay, I wasn't sure if Brett and your wife.
I think we're 36 trillion on debt. And maybe it's 150. Our GDP's. But it's just, why should the state do what the county do? Why should the feds do what the state do? Other than the state's getting it, other than the feds can print money. But that's got a big consequence of inflation, or just kicking the can down the road.
Okay, well, at this time, we can reconvene and continue on in our agenda. Next, a proposed resolution at this time is number 22, and it's amend the 2024 budget year-end reconciliations for information technology.
Good morning, Sam Zafuto, Deputy Director of Finance, here for the IT Department. The Director does say in his regards, he is off this week, so he's not here. This just reconciles the accounts. It is a mixture of overages in the .1 and 8s through the IT organization. The .1s, as you've heard earlier this morning, departments that didn't have vacancies did have trouble staying within budget, so they did exceed. We'd also did exceed in the employee benefits, mostly related to retiree surcharges, as you've also heard this morning. But we are balancing. We do have a surplus of revenue through our communications account that will balance, so this will tie up our accounts for year end.
Okay, good. The director did reach out to me and had shared some of that information, and if we had the opportunity to, if we had any questions, he had answered them, so I thank him for reaching out prior. I think, you covered the information. The personnel services is, and I'll say again, I'm thankful that we have a full house.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
It's a good problem. So, as we move forward with that vacancy savings, we may, instead of implementing a percentage across the board, we could pay attention to some of these trends and actually get more more precise with the departments that we are really experiencing it too, so we may have to make that adjustment moving forward if needed. But you were able to stay within, it was minimal, so, but you were able to stay within, so it also puts the pressure on the department to monitor and keep in it, so a balance. Questions, comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 23, and that's the amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations to the county clerk's office.
Hi, Emily Blevins, Deputy County Clerk. We had a vacancy adjustment budgeted for our Weights and Measures Department. We did not have any vacancies for the year 2024, but we were able to cover that with .4's other contractual accounts that we had a little bit of a surplus in.
Good.
Budget neutral.
Good job.
We like budget neutral.
Were the increase in appropriations result in higher fees or did you do more services?
No, the .4s are the contractual. So there was a piece of equipment that I, for some reason, was under the impression we were gonna have to buy this year, or last year, and that ended up not being the case. And then there are certain forms that they require that in the past, we either had the print shop do, or we were outsourcing to local areas. Come to find out, we can print them here for a lot cheaper.
Okay.
And then we also have, I don't know if you've gotten gas recently, those stamps certifying that the pumps have been checked by our sealer of weights and measures. Those we have to repurchase every several years, not every year. So we keep it in the budget so that it's not fluctuating every couple of years. Usually, we end up having a little bit over at the end of the year, but that's why that's there.
Sure. No, it went to good use, so, okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution is 24, which is to amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations county executive. This resolution has also been amended, and there's a new version in front of us.
Good morning, County Executive P.J. Wendell. I will let this Sam explain this, but basically, oh, go ahead.
Yep, if you want. Yeah, thank you for taking the amended and substituted. The county did get our unemployment charges for the fourth quarter very late in the year-end process. So this is just basically adjusting the .8 accounts. It's really related to unemployment retiree surcharges, and we did have a savings in personal services in the county executive office, so it is a budget neutral amendment to tie out the year.
Which area was the vacancy savings in?
What's that?
What position do you have that you're?
Operations assistant. So when Amanda Gallagher left and went to legal, we've had that position open. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, we are looking to bring that position back at part-time due to some, right now with the current low staffing numbers in the attorney's office and the ethics board. This is ethics season, so we are looking to bring somebody on part-time to take care of that stuff during this busy time of the year.
Sure. Yeah, well, there's a lot of that, there's a lot of paperwork that has to do with that ethics stuff, and if that's, they could get backlogged up pretty fast if there's no one there to complete that work, so. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution, number 25, is amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, human resources.
Good morning. Debbie Mikowski, Director of Human Resources.
The proposed resolution is due to changes in health insurance elections. It's being offset by savings in our personal services costs, again, keeping us budget neutral.
Are they a one-time thing? So moving forward, we would expect this to be the new rate? Is it like?
Yes,
from
yeah, during the budget
family
process
plan?
this summer, the .8s went up. It's just employees who actually went through the family plan, so it's just good for
Increase.
them starting the families, but obviously the cost with the change in that election does increase. So it was changed for the budget for this coming 2025,
Okay.
or in 2025.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next resolution is 26, proposed resolution to amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations unified courts.
Good morning, Jennifer Swan, Budget Director. This is just a resolution to shore up these court-related, these small little sub-departments that we have. Thankfully, we were able to offset, so it is budget neutral.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 27. It's closed capital projects for the 2024 year-end reconciliation.
This one's me too.
Come on down.
I got up to this. Hello again, Jennifer Swan, Budget Director. So this is just to close out the capital projects that you see listed before you on this resolution. They are completed and are expected to be closed. I just wanted to give you some numbers based on what we have preliminarily. Obviously, this could change slightly if there's any outstanding invoices. There shouldn't be. But we're going to be rolling about right around between $500,000 and $600,000 back from the H fund projects, and then South and Center is actually rolling right around $2 million back into their fund as well. So that was, that much less of a rate increase for their users, which is wonderful. But just wanted to give you an idea of what's being rolled back into those funds.
It's good to get some of these cleaned up. Some of them have been on the queue for a little while, so.
They have.
Yeah, it's good to keep cleaning up. I know over the last few years, we've been trying to monitor this a little more closely.
Yes.
I mean, one's on here from 2014, so good to get that one closed up. That's
Yes.
been over a decade, so.
It's about time, probably.
Bathroom probably needs to be redone at this point.
Right, yes. And don't be surprised if you see another capital project request for that.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, and not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution number 28 is authorized extension of the amended technology innovations and election resource grant award from the New York State Board of Elections.
Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Luz Torres, Commissioner.
Good morning, Nicole Ellis, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Good morning. This resolution is to amend the term of what is called the tier grant. This grant was used to purchase some voting machines last year. Unfortunately, as I kind of came on board, the voting machine delivery date was a couple weeks outside of the original grant term. So this amendment actually will allow us to file our claim, get reimbursed for those machines, and we did accrue that revenue back in the 2024 as we close out the year. So basically, as soon as this amendment's to New York State, we're going to follow it up with the claim for those machines we purchased last year.
Okay. Overall, we're the delivery was postponed just as everything else kind of experienced a shortage of things just arriving and moving out on time?
Yeah, honestly, we were 2 weeks outside the term of when the delivery happened. So we've been working on this with our
Yeah.
partners at the state to make sure the county would be reimbursed for this.
Yeah, that's a short window, you know. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution 29 is authorized acceptance of 2024 general election grant for Board of Elections.
So this one is a little different. We became aware of a possible award of funding for the last year's general election, the presidential primary. Unfortunately, by the time the department really was aware of it, where we were budgetarily and the timing, it would have been, with all the work they had to do to hold the election, to try and accept this funds and find a use for it, would not really have been possible. This is different than the other grants we're speaking about for them too, is this does have language that we can supplement but not supplant county funds. So that's the reason there's no budget amendment, there is no accrual, because I'm not unsure how much money we're actually going to get out of this $38,000, but we're gonna make the effort. We're working with our partners at the state. We did not really exceed our budget in many areas other than the vacancy savings for Board of Elections. But there's also some potential early this year to maybe repair some things from wear and tear, like the ballot bags, et cetera, that may fit into this. So we're really kind of working with the state to see what we're eligible for, and then we'll apply for what they basically agree to. But it's kind of an after the fact. We're looking back to expenses really from the presidential primary last year. But it's worth the effort to see, because with no effort, obviously, we won't get anything, but the max is $38,000. But we will make the effort with our partners at the state level to bring as much of it as we can back to the county.
And it's a federal election with state funds, so this is a state grant, and that's pretty common. And is it common to not have the amount of time that you need to kind of know this sometimes? This sounds like this one was kind of a surprise, but
They were aware it was coming, just we found out it basically in September, which is pretty hard before that election to get here, to accept the funds, do a budget amendment, and make a plan to use the funds all with the work that they were getting done to hold the election itself. I mean, that was just an ask that probably was not really feasible, and we weren't in a spot where we were really exceeding our budget either. So that's kind of, here's an extra 38, but we're not going over budget as it is, so we're not, do I need the extra 38? But that's why we're going to work with the state, because there may be some opportunities for some of the overtime around the election and some wear and tear items that we may be able to get reimbursed for.
yeah. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the next resolution is number 30, is the authorized acceptance of ballot by mail grant for Board of Elections.
Yep. So, this is another grant offer. As we prepared the 2025 budget, we were aware there was going to be a postage grant. We just were totally unsure. It came in after the budget was completed. So we used the same amount as last year, which was the absentee ballot postage grant, which we have been reimbursed in full, or should be shortly. Final claim has been sent in for that. So this increases the budget. It gives them some flexibility for some different opportunities for maybe some equipment possibly to assist them. But at the bare minimum, we also can use our postage charges from the county mailroom to be reimbursed for through this grant. This is to reimburse the county local expenses. So we have a couple different opportunities to basically be reimbursed for this to offset our expenses. And this was not, and really, this is the offsetting piece, the $23,724 was not included in the 2025 budget.
Questions, comments? Do you see a continual trend of the expenses in this area going up with the potential of more mail-in ballots? I mean, is that why we're getting extra funds in this area too, to kind of follow suit with that trend?
Yeah, the new mail-in ballots are brand new, so I anticipate it will be an influx in mail.
Is it harder for the office? Is it more work, obviously?
Yes.
So staffing-wise, it's just, have you had to boost, could any of this go toward extra wages for extra personnel to help manage and facilitate some of that?
Not this one, no.
Not this one. Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? carried. And the next resolution 31 is authorized acceptance of electronic poll book grant for Board of Elections.
Yep, so this is another grant offer. This does have a little difference, as we do have some of this revenue accrued in 2024. As we were closing out last year, we became fully aware of this offer, and the department kind of came to me because they had an opportunity to move forward with a purchase at the end of last year. This purchase was not going to exceed their contractual allotment, but we also did know that we were going to have this grant funds to reimburse us. That's why it's accrued in, and we're only moving this. And this was for some iPads through Verizon, I believe, that they purchased in the amount of $26,000. But they got a really good price working with the IT department. It seemed like a good opportunity. Obviously, now we can be reimbursed for it late, after the fact, so we have accrued this back in the year where that expense occurred, and then the balance would be moved forward. But it was something that was not going to put them over contractually at the end of last year, even with the purchase, so this is just kind of reimbursing a local share for that, and then they have some intentions for this coming year for the balance of the grant offer.
Good. Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And next proposed resolution 33 is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations workmen's compensation fund.
Or Board of Elections.
No, Board of Elections. 32.
32. Board of Elections. I didn't exit. I exited off too early. I was trying to get rid of you all.
That's why nobody moved.
That's right.
I understood, and I was wondering. I'm like, what do you mean there's one more?
I did last time. I know.
So yes, this is to close out the year-end reconciliations with a budget-neutral resolution. This was a department, obviously with the election going on, they were not, vacancy savings were included in their budget. They were not vacant. They had actual extra election workers for it. That's the reason they're over budget. We were able to offset somewhat with a decrease in both equipment and contractual expenses, and then obviously we just discussed some of the grant funds we have that also helps balance out the end of last year to make this budget neutral.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, number 33, amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations workers' compensation fund.
Good morning, Kitty Crow, Director of Finance. The Workers' Comp Fund had some additional claims and settlements that caused an over-budget situation in the contractual, 1720 contractual account. These are offset by savings that we had. We had underspent our stop-loss claims, and some additional revenue we received for, prior, it's not necessarily prior year, but refunds. Just as an aside, with the Workers' Comp Fund, our actuarial report, which will provide our long-term liability that we have to book, won't be completed until early March, so there will be a subsequent resolution in March for the final adjustments to the MS fund.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is 34, is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations health insurance fund.
Okay, so just as maybe a reminder from the budget hearings, the M fund is where we pay for all of the costs associated with our health plan, and that includes for active and active employees as well as retirees receiving benefits. And then the costs from the M fund are generally allocated across all county departments. So there were, in the 1910 contractual account, we exceeded that by $1,700. The 9089 account contractual, that is where we pay out claims for retirees as well as county-sponsored benefits. And then the 9089 account, that is for employee benefits, FICA and Medicare associated with retiree cash-out payments. We're slightly over. That's all offset by our claims experience on the active employee side. So the M fund overall has a surplus, so this is just to reconcile accounts within the fund.
Questions, comments? The section in the middle, the contractual undistributed benefits, he's commented it's a lot of the retiree portion there is what drives that.
So within the M fund, our account structure that we set up allows us to subtotal active employee plan costs and retiree plan costs. So, for medical, pharmacy, dental, vision, et cetera, when we code the actual expense, we code it to separate accounts so we know what we're spending on active employees and what we're spending on retirees. And it's all driven based on claims. So every year, now that, especially that we're self-funded, claims experience is always going to fluctuate. So this is just what the actual costs came out to be this year. Generally, with the demographic, the retiree claims experience is going to trend higher. It just happened to go over this year, mainly in the pharmacy area.
And when these do go, obviously, do you adjust these if you see that trend continually changing? So
Mhm.
next year you would, this is.
Yeah, so as we're developing any year's budget, we're definitely looking at what, like, the most 12 to 18 month trend is for claims experience and project that out.
And the self-insurance fund is fairly new, right? And how many years has it been since we've?
Well, we've always self-funded the dental and vision, which is a small component of the overall plan. The pharmacy, it might have been 2016 or 17, maybe we started to self-fund the pharmacy, and then I think it was this is the third year now that we're fully insured for, 2024 was, I think, the third year that we are fully insured for the medical component as well.
So really in consideration with that sort of rash change in the way we were insured, it is really it's really a pretty decent report, and since it has been pretty accurate with your calculations prior and where you end up.
Yeah, I mean, our year-end results overall, we had a surplus of over $1 million. So that was mainly due to rebates that we received in excess of what we estimated, as well as stop-loss reimbursements. So that overall the fund had a surplus. This just happens to be one account was over, one account was under.
Sure.
So we have to reconcile that, for year-end.
No, understood, and that's, I just wanted to generate a little conversation just for that insurance fund and where it has gone and why we've done it, and we've experienced overall savings.
Yeah.
And it has been a lot to manage and how to manage moving forward, but we've done pretty good with it.
Yeah.
Based on this report.
Yeah, with self-funding, you always want to you're always going to have a bad year every so often. You're going to have a good year every so often, and so it's important. I know it's great that we had a surplus, but now that we have a surplus, it's good to kind of maintain that for, we're going to have a bad year at some point.
Sure.
And so it's, you kind of want to try and keep those reserves so that it can help you balance out those ups and downs without, having a hit to the budget because rates, went up dramatically in a given year. So this will allow us to kind of offset a future rate increase if we see one.
And those funds, those surpluses are invested or earning interest? Can you invest those?
Yeah, I mean, our overall cash is pooled, and so we work with a liquidity firm to help us understand like how much of our cash balances we can invest for certain durations of time.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
This might be one of those questions, but, so the CS fund always has to fund, you can't pull finances out of the general fund from the county this has to take care of itself, yes?
These funds are different than enterprise funds. So the enterprise funds being like your sewer district
Right,
and the
right.
landfill, those are contained.
Contained.
These are, I forget the technical term for them, but they're.
Could there
maybe
be an
for pri-
occasion where we would have to help out
Uh,
from like the
So
general fund?
what happens is, and we've done these adjustments in the past, so if we had a bad year, and the overall M fund was, say $1 million over budget, what we do is we do a year-end reconciliation entry that charges back the cost to all county departments to their health insurance fund, but we didn't have to do that this year because we had a surplus.
And where that individual department would get the funds is maybe within their department, or they may hit the general fund, right?
Correct.
So in a sense, it could come out of the general
It could,
fund.
ultimately, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good job.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is number 35. Amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, insurance liability, the CS fund. And
Ahead of myself.
there is a amended version, which is in front of us today, that we'll be discussing.
Okay, so I'm gonna just skip past the fund balance section for the moment. The increase appropriations are needed because some of our judgments and claims includes our premiums. So all of our general liability premiums are paid under this fund, and then those costs are allocated out across the county departments based on the type of insurance. So we probably have a dozen or more different insurance policies from, auto, cyber, medical malpractice, auto. And so depending on what departments are associated with those policies, we allocate the charges back to their department. So, when we set the budget, it's based on our projected assumption of what premium increases we might see in the subsequent year. So sometimes they're a little bit more or less than what we project at the time we set the budget. Then under the 1989, the 151,000 was other blanking at the moment, but there are other administrative costs in the I'm sorry, yeah, I know what that was. That was for additional one-time claim settlements that were paid out in 2024 that were in excess of what we planned. And then those cost increases are offset by additional revenue. So, like the M fund that I just described, when we have a shortfall, so with this fund as well, at the end of the year, we do a complete reconciliation. What were the actual charges to the CS fund, and those get allocated back to county departments in the final December entry. And so that 179,000 represents what was charged back to the departments. And we also, before that chargeback was, we did have a surplus of interest earnings to the fund. A little bit is being utilized from fund balance. That was just to utilize some of the fund balance that we have in the CS fund to offset some of the costs related to the one-time settlements. And I know the next question might be is how much fund balance do we have in the CS fund? And we have approximately 1.8 million in that fund.
Questions, comments? You had made note that the other general government support is like a one-time, and you estimate,
Well,
one-time what? Like
so Like if an insurance claim settlement, we would have paid out, like we might have negotiated a claim.
So you don't know, you said you estimated, so did we have more claims, or we just underestimated the current claims, and it was, I can see where that could be tricky.
This was off from what
that's-
our normal trend was, so
Okay.
it was an unusual event in terms of a settlement, but we also,
Okay.
it's not just that's included in that 1989.4 account, so there's other things like, legal fees associated with investigations that we do that could be a potential liability issue, as well as other administrative costs, for like our broker who helps, with the policies that we procure, so.
In a question in a trend, let's say a 5-year trend, or even let's say a 3-year trend, have you seen in a 3-year trend an increase or decrease in this area?
Usually when I do the budget for this, I will look back exactly like that. I will look, what is our 3-year trend? What is our 5-year trend? Does a 3-year or 5-year trend look the same? So is it reasonable to use a 5-year trend, or was there some anomaly in that 5 years that might have skewed the trend? So I kind of have to look at line item by line item, but I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, this was
Question
just-
is also, we've instilled safety procedures above and beyond, and we've actually now employed a safety officer. So, the hope is that we would see a decrease in this, and if that program's working, and if some of the things are outside of the normal realm. But
Yeah,
that's-
so this-
I just
this
is
is-
curious if any of those practices of being, covering safety has helped in this, because
Those you would probably see more in our workers' comp fund than our general liability fund, because we have seen reductions in our workers' comp costs over the years. This is more like our, building insurance and auto insurance, and like I said, cybersecurity, those sort of
Training.
insurances. There's a,
slips and falls, I mean, all,
those,
there's
yeah, those
that
things
could
would
happen
go in
this,
the
but-
workers' comp
Okay.
fund, yeah.
And you have experienced some decrease in those
Yeah,
as a trend.
yeah,
Hopefully.
we've definitely been able to, keep rates from going up in the workers' comp fund over the last couple of years.
Good. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution number 36 is amended 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, Department of Finance and Miscellaneous Department. This also has an amended version, which is in front of us.
It's terrific.
Okay.
This is how they should all. It's really cool.
Yep.
Okay, because there were a number of adjustments, the handout kind of gives you a color coding as to what's offsetting the different variances. In this resolution covers the Department of Finance as well as the miscellaneous department, which includes like county-wide revenues and expenses. So starting with the first couple of items that are really the Department of Finance, are shaded in green, and then below you'll see those expenditures that are offsetting it are shaded in green as well. So the Department of Finance, a point you might remember from the budget hearings when we were talking about finance positions, we had transferred a number of the employees across the county into the Department of Finance. 2 of them did come from Office for Aging Services, and we did not do any budget amendments during the year for that adjustment. So we knew that, if we needed to adjust by the end of the year, because the positions would not have been filled after February of last year in OFAS. So the majority of that increase in .1s is offset on the bottom row there under decrease appropriations from Office for Aging Services. That did not impact their ability to stay within their remaining budget, so there's sufficient funds to make that adjustment. Additionally, our contractual and .8 accounts in the 1310 department ran slightly under, so they were also able to help offset the .1 and .2 adjustments. The pink items were real property tax related adjustments that were needed to contractual, and the .1 and 8 in the tax rolls maintenance and process account, which were a portion of the salaries for real property tax get charged out for those municipalities who we prepare their bills. And those were able to be offset by other property tax related accounts below in pink. The next set, shaded in gray, are the, these are like county-wide expenses. They're not attributable to a particular department, so they are in the miscellaneous department, and that includes the cost of the union, CSEA union president, which we're obligated by contract to cover, as well as community college tuition was slightly over budget. And those 4 items are offset by surplus that we had in OTB revenues.
Is that $2 the roundup thing? So that's $5 we're up to?
Well, we had to, yeah, it was just $2 over.
$5.
So we always have to.
I'm gonna get a lunch out of this deal now. It's $5.
Lastly, the 1989 account is the insurance office, so that's, we have 2 individuals that support the workers' comp plan and casualty and liability plan, and there were no vacancies. There's only 2 employees. They were employed the whole year, so there was no vacancy savings there, so that's being offset by what we charge back to departments through the CS fund. It's a little accounting that's involved there, because the cost of the insurance division is allocated to the CS and MS funds, which are then allocated back to all county departments. So it's just the administrative cost of our insurance, our casualty and liability and workers' comp plans. So, any questions?
Questions, comments? Thank you for the additional sheet. It was proven helpful to be able to track that, so it alleviated questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Proposed resolution number 37 is to amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations energy fund.
Okay, the contractual variance here is related to the accounting treatment of our interest payment on outstanding bonds. I believe I had budgeted based on the cash basis, where the actuals are posted on an accrual basis. So the offset is covered by the interest, surplus interest earnings to that fund.
Questions, comments?
I don't think we asked how many more years do we have on that? Like 7? 6?
No, I think it's less than that. There were, when we when we started leasing the energy plant, that was like a 10-year, well, it's a 20-year lease, but the first 10 years they pay a lease payment, which was to get us to where we had paid down all the debt. There were 4 bonds at that time. I think there's 2 that have been paid down, and there's 2 more that are running out. So I think we have like about maybe 4 or 5 more years.
Okay. But I know our agreement kind of covers.
Yeah, the lease
The bonds, right?
the lease payments that we receive from not a vendor necessarily, but we have somebody who leases the energy plant, and they pay us a lease payment, which was, the structure was designed to cover our debt service payments through the first 10 years.
And I'll make a comment on this, there's a lot of, it's a lot of work for the landfill to have this relationship, and there's a lot of back and forth in that agreement. They have a lot of things that they will try to work back and forth on. And one thing that the energy company that leases really wants to bring the organics in, because that's what makes the gas. But there's a push in New York State to keep the organics out of landfill. So there's a lot of things that are, the energy is like a heartbeat. It's up and down, and one thing it hurts another. So, boy, what a.
That's why I throw an extra potato in my garbage every week.
You're helping this energy
Just to
fund.
keep the gas.
Gotta do your part.
Yeah. Any other?
It's usually a big potato too, not just a little.
Well, don't make good banana bread. Put the bananas in there too. They're rotten. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The next proposed resolution is 38, which is to authorize the equitable sharing agreement with the federal government, District Attorney's Office. Thank you for being patient and waiting for us
Not a
to get to
problem.
you.
Morning Committee, Madeline Cantablia, Executive Assistant to the District Attorney. So the resolution that we have before you today is to authorize the agreement of the equitable sharing with the federal government through the U.S. Department of Justice. It was at the recommendation of the Law Department that we present this resolution to you because the DA's office may engage in federal investigations with the Department of Justice and the federal agencies that may result in asset forfeiture funds being due back to the county. At the end of each year, at the end of February, we're required to fill out the equitable sharing agreement, and the county executive is supposed to sign off on that agreement. So it was the recommendation of the Law Department that we present this resolution to because it is an agreement between the Department of Justice and the county. We have not received any federal asset forfeiture for several years, but we're still required to complete the form every year.
We're not receiving it because it's not due to us, or we're
Correct.
not receiving money due to us?
No, it's not due to us. So if we were to assist the federal government with an investigation, we could be entitled to asset forfeiture, but we've not had any of those investigations.
So we've always had this agreement, but never in writing? Sort of?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's kind of where it come down to. So it was the recommendation of the Law Department that we have it just so that we can continue to fill out the form each year and the county executive to sign off on it.
Good procedure.
Hopefully we can see someone's yacht or something.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet, or at least not since I've been there. They've had it before I was there, but the last couple forms that I've done, we have not had anything to report.
Can we make money on it?
We get lots of state asset forfeiture, but federal is a little bit different.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And next proposed resolution, number 39, is the amended 2024 budget year and reconciliations to district attorney.
So Madeline Cantulia again for the DA's office.
And Sam Zaffuto, Deputy Director of Finance. So this is to balance the accounts for the DA's office. We did have overruns both in our personal services and a small overrun in our contractual line. This is, again, one of the departments that the vacancy savings was in the DA's office. However, they did not have vacancies. So the $122,677 of expected savings obviously was not realized in this office. That is part of the reason we went over, along with some of the other work they were doing last year. This resolution does make use of the contingency fund for this. Balance of it prior to this resolution is $887,037. I do believe a resolution following this is going to use some also, for the sheriffs. But this balances the accounts at that point to close out the year for the DA's office.
Sam, can you explain that contingency account a little bit, and how that works?
Well, I believe that was the reserve, and Kitty might be the contingency account, the 887,000 that we're using for the DA. That was that was at the year-end adjustment, the end of last year. This is the adjustment for the DA.
What was the budget adjustment?
Using the A 1990.8 contingency fund.
For this adjustment.
Yep. Yeah, they just want a little background on where that number came from.
Oh, where that number came from was the retirement rates were changed after we had established the 2024 budget. So,
Budget.
I'm sorry?
The tentative budget.
Yes. So what we did was we plugged the estimated variance into contingency since the tentative budget was already at that level. So we budgeted that anticipated possible excess there to cover overages. Hopefully that makes sense. Did I say that right?
I mean, essentially,
Or
it
explain
was
that?
late in the
Okay.
game during the budget hearings, and rather than amending every county department, we put the net projected variance for the retirement pension payment in the contingent account, knowing that at year end, if whatever departments did end up going over in their .8s, we could adjust it at that time. But it was late in the game, so it was difficult to have amended every county department during the budget hearings.
In the employee benefit, in that .8, it could also be utilized in, you're using it in a .1 here to
Yes.
help offset, so it can be used in both. Okay.
And essentially, since it was, since it's already included in the budget, we are utilizing that before we would utilize fund balance.
And I'll just comment on the trend that I've so far have seen is companies or departments are surpassing the vacancy savings. So it might be something that we really do need to consider. This is a pretty significant amount in, the DA's office really did not have the coverage within their department. So this is really a pretty big strain. Where the personal services, it's an overage. Is it primarily vacancy savings, or is there some overtime?
There's other costs on top of the vacancy savings in there, but we exceeded that amount. We're over beyond the vacancy savings itself.
How much would you say so, Sam? I mean, I'm just curious.
27,000 would be, 27,000 would be additional wages, overtime, et cetera, that was paid out, wellness, all the stuff that makes the point up on top of the vacancy savings.
So the vacancy savings is most of it?
It is a good piece of it, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would just add that most of our positions were full for the entire year. We had some personnel changes where, we had somebody leaving, but to allow for training, there was some overlap, which I think contributed to our overage in the personal services.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Madam.
Proposed resolution number 40 is authorized lease agreement with the Village of Mayville for office space for the office of the sheriff.
Good morning, Riley. I'm the fiscal supervisor. The first resolution we have in front of you is a lease agreement with the Village of Mayville for office space. This is currently where we are housing the CARES program reentry hub. And this is a continuation of the current agreement we have. It's a 2-year term for 525 square feet. We pay $450 a month, and we would like, this would be paid through the COSAP grant, fiscal year 2021, and then after September of this year, it will be paid through the 2024 grant that we received.
This is proven to be a valuable asset for the town and a good solution for these individuals to be able to go and ascertain the services that they need, and it's been well thanked throughout the community as far as I can understand, right? Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And next, Resolution 41 is authorize equitable sharing agreement with the federal government, Office of the Sheriff.
This resolution is similar to the district attorney's resolution. We have to file an equitable sharing agreement and certification with the Department of Justice every year on how our funds are spent and what federal monies we received for asset forfeiture. We were advised by the legal department also to do this. We do participate in several investigations that lead to asset forfeiture funds coming to us, and they're specifically earmarked to pay for the operations of those investigations.
Is this a new, so we will, or
This
has
is
it
not
been?
new.
It's been doing it, you just haven't had the agreement per se.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution number 42 is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, Office of the Sheriff. This has also been amended, and we will be reviewing the amended version that's in front of us all. And, it's a 3-pager.
We have a lot of departments. First, we had to use fund balance for E911 of $9,938 to cover the E911 department. This is from the reserve account we have specifically for E911 operations. Most of our other expenses were personnel and employee benefits, and we were able to budget balance those out with the contingency fund, and it's due to the overage and vacancy savings, and we didn't have the vacancies there. Other than that, we have some contractual expenses. The majority of them are in the jail, and I would say half of the expense was food this year. But we were able to balance within all of our departments with the exception of the contingency for the personnel and employee benefits.
Would you say the food was an increase in cost, or was it an increase in service? You had to provide more for?
I would say probably a little bit of both. We work with a dietitian, so there are specific needs that have to be met to provide food to the jail individuals, and there's just an increase in costs across the board.
Questions, comments? Just kind of looking through any of the numbers. So your total overages were
The total increase of appropriations was $1,092,831.
and you were able to cover most of those within your department?
Within our departments, and the contingency, yes.
And the contingency amount is,
The contingency amount is the very last line under decreased appropriation accounts on page 2, and that total is $583,730. The vacancy savings for the sheriff's office that was plugged in for 2024 totals just under $1 million. So this is still well below the threshold of what was plugged in for the vacancy savings.
Our vacancy savings was $966,304 that was budgeted.
okay. Okay. Questions, comments?
Just one question. Sale of property, what did we sell?
I'm sorry.
The sale of property, if I'm looking at the right.
Sale of property. When we sell any of the vehicles through the vehicle auction,
Okay.
scrap, I believe, is included in that as well.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thanks.
Not property proper.
Not real estate. Right, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next resolution is number 43, which is authorize acceptance of funds from the Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance for the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program for the fiscal year of 2024.
So this program is just a payment to us for state criminal aliens, that basically undocumented criminal aliens that are housed in our jail. We submit our inmate data and they pay a portion of the officer's salary for these specific individuals, and it covers the period from 7/1/2022 to 12/31/2025. It is included in our 2025 budget.
Questions, comments?
Let's do it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution number 44 is authorized execution New York State Office of Homeland Security statewide interoperable communications grant program for the fiscal year of 24.
The statewide interoperability grant for fiscal year 2024 covers the performance period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026. This covers some land mobile radio systems, maintenance costs, and the dispatch equipment. It's included in our 2025 budget. The total amount is $643,479. And you'll see in a later resolution some of the costs that we had to increase our budget for. This is something that we've been receiving for several years. The dollar amount has increased some, but it helps out with maintenance costs for various stuff for dispatch and.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next resolution, number 45, proposed resolution authorize execution of New York State Office of Homeland Security Public Safety Answering Point grant for the fiscal year 24.
This grant is the Public Safety Answering Point Grant, or PSAP, covers 5 dispatcher salary up to the maximum amount of $33,514 per dispatcher. Performance period is 1/1/24 through 12/31/2025. It is included in our 2025 budget, and this is also another grant that we've received for several years.
This is, you said up to 5 dispatchers. How many dispatchers do we have?
To guess, I would say it's probably like 16. I think we're probably in that range.
I'm just curious. Yeah, no, and that's, I'm fine with it.
There's like 4 or
'cause-
5 of them over here in Mayville that's usually here during the day, and then there's also a hub in Jamestown, but there's dispatchers there, but I don't
And
see them
then-
every day, so I don't really know how many there are.
And it's staffed, you know, you obviously, day and night, so you have 2 or 3 shifts. Is it 3 shifts or 2 shifts?
I think it's 3. I think it's
3 shifts split across that, and then backfill if someone is, calls in sick or on vacation, so you have extras. So it's a good vast amount of people, but this is a good help. Okay, questions,
And
comments?
I believe the director of HR is assisting me here. I believe there's 29 in total between full and part-time.
It's a lot of dispatchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that the full-timers do work 10-hour shifts. So they don't work your typical 8-hour shift. They do a 4 10-hour shift week.
Right. Okay. Very good. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. And number 46, proposed resolution is amend the 2025 budget for Office of the Sheriff.
This budget amendment is to increase the W-911 contractual cost by $85,904. And this is to cover 2 software purchases that are needed. One's Motorola Solutions, and it's for the radio system upgrade. This is actually charged to us every 2 years, and previously we did not budget for this in our software budget, but going forward we will budget for it just every 2 years. And then Audit Solutions is a warranty service agreement, and it's needed for the microwave system. Basically, it's how the towers talk to the other tower sites. And this is actually going to be covered in the SIC grant. We budgeted for it, but we were told after the fact, which is why we're doing the budget amendment now.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proposed resolution number 47 is amend the 2024 budget year-end reconciliations emergency services. This has also been amended, and we'll be reviewing the amended version, which is on our desk in front of us.
Same as the photo, Deputy Director of Finance.
Noel Gutman, Director of Emergency Services.
So this resolution is to balance out the year-end reconciliation for emergency services. This is a budget-neutral resolution. So there's a lot obviously going on in it as it's multi-departments, but a lot of it, the overages, there's a combination of vacancy savings and overtime that drove the overages in the personal services. We're offsetting through a lot of savings throughout the sub-departments and then some increase in revenue. But the big piece of the overage obviously was in the fly car, point ones, a lot of that was overtime as needed for last year. So that's the large increase that you're seeing on top of a vacancy savings that was also included in that budget. We also did exceed overtime for 2024.
I'll just make a comment. There's no first line fund balance appropriations, and I know the last few years has been pretty heavy in the fund balance offset, just based on the fly car system. So, I just want to comment on that the focus on that over the last few years to get that proper has helped, and we haven't had to input a significant amount of that in this year-end reconciliation. So, thank you for that good work to kind of correct that and have that not be so burdensome on that.
Yeah, we did use fund, obviously in September, but I think we've kind of right-sized the budget for EMS, where we did a lot of work to kind of true this up for 2025, so hopefully we are not here in September needing another $300,000-400,000.
Well, yeah, and you haven't added any more, and that's
Also worth noting that the transport division was, approximately 34,000 profit. So that helped a little bit, and has proven to be a good program for us.
And actually, the fly car program as a whole is almost at the 2024 adopted budget for revenue. And the first deputy director and I are actually going to be taking a look at payments received in January and February. So there is actually a potential to meet the budget number for 2024 as well. Just depending, that would be obviously Todd's decision on whether we accrue that back or not. But I would assume you're going to see at least $100,000 accrual still on top of what we've booked. So
great. It's a lot to medical billing is not an easy faucet to take care of.
It's a specialty for those that do it.
So it's been a learning curve for all involved, and it's taken a while to really get a good estimate and handle on it, and I'm thankful for hopefully we can continue this trend as we move forward, and and I think the services that we're providing are much needed, and I've always been a proponent of that. And I just wanted it to reflect in our accounting that it was correct, and so the service is great. I think that we've also added the transport service, which is really great. Not only just because our county area needed that transport service, but it also has proven to be a good revenue source for helping offset the expenses that we experience in the fly car system. So, it's kind of a good way to help the department in general. So, questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is 48, is amend the 2025 budget to implement the GOP security project using interest earnings from American Rescue Plan Act.
This resolution is to work conjointly with the Building and Grounds, Josh Rothwell, Tim Card, under some direction of the county executive to look at some ways to enhance the security of this building here. without making it a fortress, obviously, but making some improvements that'll help protect employees, staff, and visitors. And that's what we're doing. There'll be some access control points, some visible door enhancements, much like we did over at the HRC building.
Questions, comments?
When will we start to see these?
As soon as this is an approved project, we'll get with the contractors and see how quickly we can make these things happen. This is something, as soon as it's approved, we want to get immediately on it.
Yeah.
Is there an underlying problem? New problem?
Underlying, no. The world in general, yes. Just the building is, got some obvious gaps in security that we can tighten up, and would like to do that. Like to make a safer work environment for our employees, our guests, and just get it more in line with we made some security enhancements over the HRC, and get it more in line with that, and more in line with just general businesses, office buildings across the state, that they're not free reign for anyone to come in. Obviously not restricting any movement and making sure everyone's rights to go wherever they need to are looked after and cared for, but making sure that, the safety is a paramount concern for our employees and everyone in the building.
You have had a few instances of some peculiar situations, right?
There have been some isolated incidents, nothing that I wouldn't say they're an everyday occurrence, but there has been some isolated incidents and some things that we have taken notice of and would like to counteract.
Sure, and that's, to answer Fred's question a little bit, there has been a few instances, but I mean, it's, some of those will be corrected, so there is.
It's just, people should be where people should be.
Correct. In this building here, when someone gets through security, obviously they pretty much have run of the entire building, and we want to be able to put a little bit of access control to that and make sure people, are going the proper ways and safe in doing so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also point out that right now we have an ongoing trial in the courthouse that has drawn worldwide attention. And there is a significant amount of concern attached to that process, that procedure. And so that has also caused us to look more closely on our safety and security for the building. Something of that magnitude that we have not experienced before in this building has caused us to do more introspection.
I have a question. There's another building too. Is there any of these changes being made to that building too?
Which building?
Across the parking lot.
HRC.
HRC has already had some security enhancements done.
Oh, okay.
Some doors and access control points have already been added on the ground entry floor. So we're mimicking some of the actions that were taken over there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you've done you've had a team and done the audit of the security of the buildings to kind of drive forward what projects are necessary, and that's kind of an ongoing discussion, I'm sure, of building safety and what really necessarily needs to happen. And I guess this building and also with the court and what offices are held in within this building have warranted the extra project here to.
Correct. It was a joint collaboration to come up with the ideas and to come up with the best plan.
And the good news is we have the money to fund it.
Yeah. Again, using interest that we've gained on ARPA funding. Good job.
All the way around. Good job.
Other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, Resolution 49, proposed resolution to amend the OES 2025 budget for fiscal year 2021 hazmat grant.
Yep, so this resolution is to move forward. This grant was delayed initially kind of due to the pandemic, so this amount was not included in the 2025 budget. We have used some of the money in prior years. The original offer was $90,700. This is just moving the unused balance of $75,264 into 2025, both the expense and the revenue, and hopefully we'll get this completed and finished up this year. But really, the delay on this and the next following resolution relate to the pandemic and delays in moving forward with them.
as far as not being able to get the equipment, or just,
I believe it was actually the grant offer itself that was delayed. The actual funding was delayed due to the pandemic.
funding was delayed? They used the funds toward other
Well,
things?
at the beginning, you remember, a lot of stuff was kind of held up, so, and then initially getting our paperwork and everything in order. So hopefully we tie up this in the following resolution, this fiscal year.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed Resolution 50 is amend the Office of the Emergency Services 2025 budget for fiscal year 2022 hazmat.
Yep, so this is exactly the same as the last, except this is the following federal fiscal year, or not federal, the following 2022 fiscal year of the award. Obviously, we have used about 40,000 of it to date, but this was not included in the 2025 operating budget, so this is just moving this into 2025 so we can wrap this award up as well this year.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And proposed resolution number 51 is amend the 2025 Office Emergency Services budget for the fiscal year 2022 for the, what's the SHSP?
State Homeland Security.
Yep, but this also is very similar to the other two, where these are funds that we do have left over on a grant. So this is extending the term of the grant offer like the previous ones, and also then bringing in the unused balance of both the revenue and expense. And again, with the intention of hopefully tying all this up this year as well.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Lot of moving parts. Proposed resolution number 52 is authorized lease agreement with SUNY Fredonia for 2025 Senior Expo event. You've turned into part of this elderly population just waiting for your turn. Sorry.
Good morning. Dana Corwin, Director of the Office for Aging Services, and it's been a pleasure to sit here this morning and follow the process. So you have a resolution before you, Resolution 52, which seeks to get authorization to rent the Williams Center, which is a large building on the State University of New York campus. Every year since before I was here at the agency, we've always put together a celebration for the Older Americans Month, which is typically celebrated in May of every year. We used to do a picnic at Midway, and it grew and grew and grew until we could no longer house them there, and then COVID. And then after that, we proposed a series of North and South County spring socials, again, to bring information and assistance and activities to the older adults in the community. We were so full in those last events in the last 2 years, we've been looking for a place to really expand. There's very few places that can hold 1,000 older adults and their caregivers, so SUNY Fredonia is the perfect place. They have an opening, and we hope to hold the very first CHQ Aging Expo in the county on May 22nd. So we're seeking approval for that one-day rental of the Williams Center. The cost is not listed on there. The total cost is $575 for the day, and that includes access to the SUNY Fredonia staff. We've been in planning meetings with them, including their police, their events planning, and so forth and so forth. $375 is the actual rental, and $200 is the information technology services that will be required. We plan to have, at this point, we're about 80 vendors, so we're planning an enormous vendor fair where older adults can come, get information about services and programs and benefits and activities and opportunities in our county, learning how to age well in our community. Then in the late morning, we will be having some local experts from different areas of concern have small classes. Then we're going to be breaking for lunch. And before, we'd always done a picnic or a sit-down lunch. This year, we're going to be offering food trucks and have an outdoor venue where people can get together. And then in the early afternoon, we are scheduling guest experts in many different mini sessions of interest and importance, everything from Medicare 101 to advanced care planning to Alzheimer's and dementia to scams and bingo. It's actually a scam bingo game that they're planning. And guest experts from the local hospitals on aging well at home, orthopedic care, and such. So we're really excited about the opportunity to serve. We're anticipating over 1,000 individuals. And we've been able to open it up to not only the older adults over 60, but also their caregivers. So if there is somebody that they have that provides care to them on a regular basis, they can also attend, and that's something we haven't been able to do before. So again, really equipping the community to age well at home and understand the resources that are available to them.
Questions, comments?
I'm just glad to see this happening, because someday I'm going to fall into that category.
Someday.
Well, you know, years ago, we had a slight change of our name from the Office for Aging to the Office for Aging Services, or Aging of Services, and it's because we're all aging.
Yeah.
And I'm qualified.
So, well, I'll meet you there that day, Bob.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you there that day.
Oh, and the promotion must be there and the need, and you have great attendance, so.
We
it's great.
have.
It's great exposure for the department, and, you know, it's
Be able to serve that many people for that amount of money.
Right.
You're getting a bang
It's
for
a
your.
great value.
Yeah.
It's after the college has, the semester's ended, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
I almost wonder if you did it during the school year, if you would get participation from the students who might be going into that field.
We did think about that, and we extended an offer to all of the SUNY participants there on campus, whether they be an instructor or a student. And actually, some of the music program, they're well-known for their music program. In the early morning or late morning offerings, kind of hands-on activity, there are some ukulele lessons that are going to be provided by instructors and students. And we've got other interactive things with the English department on how to tell your life story and how to, journal that. So there's some interesting things there that really uplift the older adults and let them know that they are not alone, and that there are others like them, and there are other services.
I could teach both of those. How to talk and how to play the ukulele.
All right, then.
At the same time.
Wow. Some hidden talents I didn't know.
But we're very excited, and there will be a press conference in the beginning of the event and a ribbon cutting. The chamber will be there. It's just going to be a phenomenal event. We're very excited about it.
Great.
Good.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 53 is proposed resolution to amend the 2025 budget for the purchase of a van for meal delivery for the elderly. Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. We do home-delivered meals throughout the county. We have providers that deliver north and south, as well as a primary kitchen. And in the North County, Dunkirk-Fredonia Home Delivered Meals Agency has an aging van that is actually the county's van, so it needs to be replaced. In the last 2 quarters of 2024, we started to look regularly, I will say for me anyways, at the inventory list that we have, and we talked about the age and the van and the troubles that it had been having. It is a 2016 Ford cargo van with over 113,000 miles on it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it gets a lot of wear and tear on the roads with the salt and the winters that we have. So there's been a lot of work into it, and at this point, it needs to be replaced. It is a county-owned van, so I understand the process would be, once a new van was procured, that van would go back to the fleet manager, and they would consider that asset and how to recoup funds on that asset. So there'll be some offset there. The $19,000 is part of a fund that has been held by that home-delivered agency as a requirement of the contract for replacement, so that's been being saved since 2019. Well, it's not, half or, more. It is a diligent use of the funds put aside for these situations where we need to replace.
Glad to see that's being used.
Mm-hmm. Right.
One question I had thought about is that we have been leasing a lot of vehicles in the county, and Was, a question I wanted to ask is if you had explored that option here, and if it just made sense to continue to purchase.
Mhm. I haven't explored that option, but as I've been sitting through the meetings, I keep hearing that. So that's something I will reach out to the director of that department and have a conversation about whether moving forward, that's something we need to consider. Because there is a second van we own that is utilized by that particular agency. That's a 2018 van with 78,000 miles on it. So it's been holding up well considering it's a 2018, but it is a good recommendation to see if that is warranted.
I suppose, and what we found with the leasing is it will maybe turn over the inventory a little faster, so you don't have to start accruing some of those expenses and maintenance, but also you don't have that big expense in a particular year. It also helps maybe facilitate some of that savings, but this department, like you said, is a little unique in the sense that through the contract, the Dunkirk Fredonia Meals on Wheels has to have a savings or input into the purchase of a new van, even though it's county owned. So there's a little bit of things to poke around at. It's not just as easy as it seems, but just a possibility that could be explored. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution, number 54. Authorize acceptance of lead hazard reductions grant for the fiscal year 2024.
Good morning, folks. I'm Jessica Worsley, Chautauqua County Director of Environmental Health Services, and I am presenting a resolution to accept and celebrate a grant that we have been awarded from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to address lead hazards in our county. This is a multi-year grant that will run through the beginning of 25 into the beginning of 29, and it's for a nice little chunk of money. We got $5.75 million to assist homes with remediating lead hazards.
Questions, comments? Everyone's satisfied?
And bringing money
Great
in
program.
is a nice,
It is.
a nice change of pace.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, folks.
Next proposed resolution 55 is New York State Office of Mental Health, additional funding to 2025 state aid.
Good. Is it still morning? Good morning. We made it. I'm Trish McLennan, Deputy Director with Department of Mental Hygiene and Social Services. And here, because we did receive, after we had completed the budget, we did receive some funding from New York State Office of Mental Health. And that is designed to put in place court mental health navigators, which is an interesting term, court mental health navigators. So again, this is sponsored by and funded completely by the New York State Office of Mental Health. It is coming through state aid, and it will be annual. We will not continue it if it is not funded. It's that part's that basic, okay? So it's not a cost to the county. It will cover the cost of a certified peer specialist, which is a trained person who has experienced the criminal justice system. It will also include the funding for a care coordinator to assist with options that the judge or attorneys may wish in court. The other piece that some of the reason Mental Health OMH is sponsoring this, those of you who have been involved with our human services and a budget, we've talked a lot about 730s, which has been the local share for mental hygiene. Our entire local share is 730s, meaning court-ordered restitution in order for a person to stand trial. So the cost of the evaluations plus the cost of the hospitalization, either at Rochester Psychiatric Center or Buffalo Psychiatric Center. And that can range anywhere from several $100,000 or to $1 million a year. So part of this court navigator, since we are in a stage right now of bail reform, folks are getting in and out real quick. There's not a lot of time for any long treatment in a jail setting. So a lot of folks are being released, which means they're ending up in court a lot sooner with lack of stability psychiatrically. So part of the role of this court navigator is to help assist in our county those folks who may not need a 730, but to find alternatives for that. The alternatives could be quicker response time for access to treatment, quicker response time for medications, could mean actually following up with them, transporting them to that appointment to make sure they get there. If a person gets there and gets on their medications quickly, they might not need a 730, meaning we may save $1,000 a day at a hospital, is what we're looking at. Okay, and that's something that can't be billed for because it's not, it's criminal, not mental hygiene law. So that's part of what this will help with. So the benefit to our community is actually having better resources, getting folks the treatment they need, so it's not either clogging up the legal systems, clogging up the time of other responders, and also helping the individual. But so that's for a total of $206,000, $522. It's 1 calendar year. So this will be through this year. We'll know, so we'll build a budget for next year. We will know way before the end of the year about the state aid occurring again next year.
Question, Trish, it sounds, is the person available? You know,
Like,
it's one
can we
thing
hire
to.
them quickly, you mean?
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
it's one thing to.
Yes, I love that question.
Well, sometimes, you know, you have something that comes available, but can we actually find this person to do this service for us? And is it an agency, is it a person, is it?
Okay, this will be, and I'm glad you're asking this. This is going to be something that will be county-run, because there really isn't another way to maximize the funding resource. We do try hard anytime we get funding. I know you've heard me say this, to offer this up to other areas. This, because there's so much overlap, jail, all that's already county, it really needs to stay. The good news is, believe it or not, we've already had a couple conversations with a county employee who is very interested. And then our person who oversees our assisted outpatient treatment and our behavioral health jail services, Lynn Graziano, is going to be the supervisor for this. So she is excited about it. They're getting ready, along with Carmelo Hernandez, to meet with the local judges, attorneys, that type of thing, to say, this is going to be available. We're going to be there on site. So yes, I'm, and then for the peer, we do have contract services for that. At this time, we don't have that as a county position, but I'll be honest, anytime we have needed a peer, I've had a very qualified one to interview within a couple weeks. So we've not had any problem filling those. At a time of workforce shortages, I will say we've done pretty well at recruiting folks. So
Good.
yes, we do.
Great. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Very much.
Next proposed resolution is number 57, and that is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations Veteran Services Agency. This has also been amended by substitution, and we have a new version in front of us today.
Good morning. Excuse me. I'm Diana Songer, Deputy Director of Finance here for Veteran Service Agency. This resolution is to amend the Veteran Service Agency's 24 budget for exceeding expenditures that were budgeted. There are additional revenues and a surplus of appropriations which will help offset those expenditures. We are requesting an increased use of fund balance in the amount of $5,465, and to change the 24 budget to increase the appropriation accounts totaling $22,350, decrease the appropriation accounts in the amount of $4,491, and increase revenue accounts in the amount of $12,394. There were some additional expenses related to moving into a new office space and additional vehicle expenses for the veterans van, which caused these expenditures to exceed the budget.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution, number 58, is amend the 2025 budget occupancy tax funded projects.
Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Dave McCoy, Chautauqua County Watershed Coordinator.
Welcome this morning. What do we have in front of us today?
Yep, this resolution is to move forward. In the adopted 2024 budget, there were a number of projects, 16 total, to be funded by occupancy tax. 9 of these basically were not due to permitting issues or other delays, did not get started in 2024. The department's working on contract amendments. Most of the contracts ran through March 31st of this year. So this would just be to move the unused balance from 2024 to 2025 to finish these projects. As they discussed last night, there is no cost increase to the extension that's going to happen, provided this resolution is approved.
Do you feel that the DEC permitting the delayed is a lack of manpower or focus on this, or is it just normal?
It's not normal. There are a couple of things that come into play. One is we've had a large project load. With the changes in the occupancy tax, we were asked to balance in-lake and watershed spending, so we had a special round, if you will, of the in-lake, which brought 5 projects into the mix. Also, when we rolled into 2024, we had the regular cycle of projects, so there are more in-lake projects. And those are a little different in that anytime you're working in the water, you're pretty much working with a DEC. And at the same time, DEC's had a lot of retirements, new staff. You know, they're a little uneasy about exercising any discretion on permits or moving any more quickly than they absolutely have to. So it's taken time to get these ready to rock and roll.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is number 59, and that's amend the 2025 budget to replenish the lake maintenance fund.
In 2024, the county established the lake maintenance fund. It's a great thing. It's not occupancy tax. It gives us some flexibility to do some other things. We did get 2 projects going in 2024. You know, that being said, we didn't spend all of it. We don't really shop it around. We try to just use it for projects of special opportunity and need. So we spent $149,500, and we included that in our 2025 budget to replenish that. However, the remaining $350,500 needs to roll into the 2025 budget. So that's what this does.
Yep.
Questions, comments?
Pretty simple.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And proposed resolution number 60 is amend the 2024 budget for year-end reconciliations, planning, and economic development.
Yep, this is just the year-end reconciliation. I promise this is the last time this morning you will hear the word vacancy savings, and, but the Department of Planning did not have vacancies. It was included in their budget, so they are self-balancing within their own .1s and 8s in their organization. There was also a small overage in the watershed admin for a retiree surcharge. That's an $18 overage, but they all self-balance within their own .1 and 8 accounts.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're getting through this agenda.
Geez, and I was,
Marathon.
we haven't even gotten to noon yet. I don't know what to. So, that is it for our proposed resolutions today, which brings us to other. Does anyone have anything that they wish to bring to the committee under other?
I just appreciate the amended resolutions being bigger type, larger type. Yeah, that's helpful, especially as the day goes on. Other than that, nothing else.
They're asking for other, under other.
Do you have something under other?
Just real quick for
Sure.
next month, just as a heads up.
Come on up.
For next month,
Yeah, for next month. You have to get out ahead of us.
for next,
No, just Jennifer Swan, Budget Director. Just wanted to get out ahead of it a little bit. Some of you probably noticed that there was no year-end resolution for social services this month. We are still reconciling the revenues. Obviously, there's a big learning curve with the reorg and other things that are happening, so we're getting everything shored up. I know that those of you who have been on the legislature know that these adjustments are made at DSS well into March regularly anyway. We typically end up presenting two separate. We typically have one resolution in February, one in March. At this point, everything's going to be consolidated into the March resolution. So we just wanted you to know that you will see one, and that will be coming next month.
How's it looking?
How's it looking?
And we would also, the other point we will make for next month is that we'll have a report of material variances and results at
Yes.
that time. Yeah, so we'll provide that to you for next month, but, you know, so far, things look like we will
Have a
be in the
small
black
surplus.
and should not have a significant
Yes.
variance.
So far, things are trending that we'll still have a small surplus, but
And
Knock
if,
on wood.
one thing I would say is, I would be curious to just see how the vacancy savings has trended out at the end of the year. What
Yeah,
the
I'll be
Okay.
presenting that too. I already have something put
Okay.
together, so.
Good, and that's just kind of, in reviewing some of these resolutions prior, I could kind of see that trend, and I was just curious what the explanation was gonna be throughout the day and a lot of it was, a good portion of those were related to vacancy savings, so I just was curious where that kind of settled out at, so.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything under other today?
thank you.
Not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
Carried. Thank you, everyone, for coming today, and good meeting.
That didn't count.
This is like a whole series of camel's noses under.
I think this is a good comment.
And they're all kinds of-
Sure, no, sir, I agree.
Yeah. So the way I did it,
So,
I felt was
Exactly.
that was our total. And we were able to, we give 3 million to all the villages and cities. Instead of saying, we got this and they got that, I just thought, give them the total and then tell them what they got.
Oh,
Well, why do we get that? That's okay, yeah. At the end of the day, we don't have to give them anything, according to state law.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you don't have to.
No, I get it.
Be here, and I think it's good.
And I get it, the extra 1% is in that discussion, and look at the money, I get it.
you know,
Of the 300 modems,
It helps possible
in
this,
my
this.
charge, I don't know if you were on, did the original.
Right, I think it's a very good
We did suggestion
suggestion.
on the revenue.
I think we need to understand that the state requires us to balance the budget.
It's easy to get them.
We have to go through this painful process of all these little nits and nats. But we're so busy with that, that we don't step back and say,
And it's
there'd be a couple of
I
trends
don't
here.
think it's
volunteer tag.
It's not hurt.
But I think that needs to be a separate process, rather than trying to do it all at the same
And
time.
what it also does is it helps spread that money. we can talk. It kind of gets the renters, the people that don't pay taxes, you know what I mean? It gets the people, out-of-town people, you know, but also the in-county people that don't own.
Right. And how many years in a row have we had to do this thing?
I get that, because there's a.
And you know, if you can afford a new pickup truck, you're gonna.
Yeah, and it's really, you know,
You're gonna pay less. So it's like self-adjusting.
I get it, yeah. No, it's, yeah, I mean, I just think of my, like,
and actually, there was
Take
one.
advantage of
small-
these ones, then
Talking to someone.
I'm a small businessman, and I can see how much sales tax I pay.
Like, oh, we're
So it's
and
like,
we're so understaffed.
it's really
and we've got
crazy.
all this work to do. and
No, what was the other, oh, yeah,
And I'm like, well,
I'll save this,
Exactly, exactly.
I'm here
And
now.
What
Okay,
is
all right.
significant?
Thank you.
So you're gonna
paying
speak
attention
about
to, and what is
you know,
just
the
the
transportation.
normal
we're gonna have
balancing that has to be done to close the books.
Sales tax
I
revenue,
checked
which I
that
think is
today.
important,
That's kind of you could tell.
especially for all the
There's a
municipalities.
little bit of a language issue.
We get, for the bad guys, for collecting
Not looking great.
they don't mind accepting
Yep.
checks.
Oh, we got it.
Sewing all
Yeah,
along.
now what are we gonna do?
You know, well, it's